Hello and welcome to Infamous, the audio podcast. This is Brandon, or Mutilus on Discord.
This is Parker, go by One Who Parks on Discord.
This is Jeremy, just Jeremy on Discord today.
And this is Aaron, I go by Treffenwood.
And welcome everybody. Quick announcements. Parker, you're down to 1906 probationary episodes.
Perfect.
Yep, right where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Just nailed in one. I'll tell you what, I'll give you a bonus 10 if you tell me the news.
Bonus 10, like give me more episodes or less episodes?
No, like I was going to take off an extra 10 if you give me some good news. But
good news in general?
No, MCP news.
Oh, I have
Jesus
no good
Christ,
news.
it's like talking to my kids.
Yeah, I know, right? It's just useless. Anyway.
I'm really good at this.
Dog, yep. What dog? That dog? The dog over there. Just forget it. There's no dog.
Is that a dog? God damn it. The moment's passed. Anyway, so no news, unfortunately. We're still waiting. Don't worry. I'm sure by the time this episode comes out, all the news will have come out and we will have missed it. It'll be great.
Mm-hmm.
Very excited. Quick announcements continuing. Show Me Showdown is in, well, I guess by the time you hear this, it will be 2 weeks. It's on July 14th. It's going to be a great time. It's in Kansas City. You can buy tickets at showmeshowdownt.com, or you can go to a lot of different places. I posted the ticket information. It's going to be a good time. If you sign up by the 9th, you're going to get a grab bag of sweet goodies that are currently unavailable for purchase. So we'll see how that goes.
I heard that currently there is over 380 people signed up for Marvel Crisis.
That is... What's the opposite of a fact? I can't remember.
It's
that, whatever that is. It's not 300. We do have a cap of 60, but I don't think we're going to hit 60. But we'll see. I mean, there's always a chance.
Was that Colbert who coined truthiness? I think that was
truthiness. Yeah,
it has a high.
Aaron, I need you to rate this on the Aaron's truth scale.
Yeah.
Just hey, shoot high, man.
28 to 28.
Okay, cool. No context. Moving on. All right, so let's move into currently playing. I'll go first. I've lately been playing Guardians of the Galaxy, and my hot take is Age of Venom is trash. Moving on.
Woo!
I think you might
People
need
just spilled their drink through their
Shot
fucking McDonald's.
I'm going for gasps.
So you yelled at me last episode for not correcting you all when you were wrong. At what point do you want me to step in?
That's not what I said. You're twisting my words. I said you didn't disagree with me.
Oh, okay.
I never implied you should.
Do not talk when Master is talking.
Okay.
Do not talk when Master is talking.
Listeners should have ignored everything Brandon said for the past 46 seconds.
Is that it?
Well,
I can talk for way longer.
Truthful.
Ugh.
It's called a hot take for a reason. Move on.
It's hot take. He just came out. There's no way to know.
We'll talk about it later. News at 11.
What are you playing,
next?
Aaron?
Somebody go.
What are you playing, Aaron? Are you making things up about good things that are awful?
You know what they say about good transitions usually are preempted by someone saying quick talk. So somebody else go.
Okay, I will go. I played 3 games in the past week. I played my TTS game with Sam Avengers, and then I played 2 games against Jeremy with Spider-Foes. Just playing a bunch of wide lists and having fun.
Okay, I'll go. All I have to say is I'm inviting everyone to get your wins while they're hot and fresh. The business is open. I'm giving out wins. They are just coming out hot and fresh. I have lost, I'm guessing, like almost 10 games in a row. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Now, Jeremy will have you believe that this is not directly correlated to the fact that the more he loses, the more he drinks, and so he's saying that those two scales, despite being directly correlated data wise, are completely inconsequential.
They're unrelated.
We call this the brown spiral, where you just keep almost blacking out, but then you don't, but then you're still conscious, so you drink more.
You're browning
and then you just get in this endless loop of browning out.
Yeah. For those that have been following this entire journey with us, the 100 and some episodes.
100, you don't remember? Quick, Jeremy, how many episodes do we have?
I don't know. Whatever.
Okay.
140 somethings. The important part is I was beaten by Thanos like 5 times in a row. That's fine. Now I will no longer play against Thanos unless it's in a tournament, and I stick to that. And then I've played some other games, but I started up playing Shield. And the one thing about Shield is I've never played an affiliation that plays like Shield, and nothing else plays like Shield, by the way. So when I was playing Aaron, it really dawned on me, and we kind of talked about it a bit, that God, it plays weird and different. I'm used to trying to take ground, and Shield doesn't take ground. It just does something entirely different. Like I don't have to take ground; it just gets points in a different way. And I started seeing kind of like ones and zeros in the Matrix in the last couple games, and it's starting to click a little bit. And it seems much more interesting than it did. I'm not getting wins with it, but I'm getting closer. It's not easy, and it definitely isn't a point and click, but um, it's got a learning curve, and I'm cool with it. So it's all good.
I mean, both of our games were super, super close down to the wire, so
Yeah.
they were fun.
And, something else that kind of dawned on me against Spider Foes, like for someone trying to learn a new list, playing against Spider Foes, one thing I realized, it allows the opponent to do all of their tricks into them. Because Spider Foes don't have any gimmicks. Like, they just go, do what you're going to do. Pretty much.
I mean, they can, but yeah, their
Not
tricks
really.
are pretty. Their tricks are generally like RNG dependent, so
Yeah,
it's not
I
like
mean,
you
whatever.
can't. You're not just going to lifesaver, but you're like, well, I
Yeah.
have this traps, and you're like, so you're not really sure what's going to happen.
Yeah, but I mean, basically, they just have large health pools and they punch you. That's essentially what they do. Unlike other things that have like one guy who hits super fucking hard and run, like get away from that guy, or just they don't really have it. Anyway, I was able to kind of run about the table and do kind of what I wanted without having to worry so much about getting, sideswiped by shenanigans, and get to see what my guys actually did. So, anywho, that's what I played. I had 2 really good games against Aaron. That was fun.
I want you to know, I'm really glad to hear your attitude tonight, Jeremy, because your attitude that night when you came up to watch to view my game, you looked at me and my list like, is that what you're playing? And I was like, yeah. He's like, and you looked at it like it was like a day old burger, just like something gross and terrible, but like it was once food and maybe you would have eaten it at one time, but now it's bitter and terrible. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing. And you're like, okay. And you just seem so deflated. I'm glad. Is what I'm saying. I'm happy.
I still think that list is stupid, but go ahead. It doesn't change my opinion on that list of yours.
I kept playing some of my list that's all the Avengers list that's all about martial artists and just keeping people from damaging me and picking up stuff and winning that way. And it's continued to do well, continue to perform like I want it to. I'm at this point, I'm kind of now in the mode of, because it's all on me. I kind of feel like it's on me to make mistakes, and and if you make mistakes, it's very punishing. I'm just trying to get faster, so I'm not going so slow. And the last game I played was not faster because I was playing against a really good friend of mine, a good friend of the podcast. His name is Tyler, and he and I were bullshitting way too much. And so it, like a game that could have taken an hour and a half, took almost 3 hours.
You're reverting.
Took almost 3
You're
hours.
reverting.
But it was we were
like,
also
hour and a half is on the high end.
But we were
that's supposed to be a high end game,
right?
Not like the average.
But we were both bullshitting, and he was also taking his sweet time because he was trying. It was his first list he's made totally himself.
Trying to learn.
Yeah. So it was very much he was learning, and I was also plumbing the corners of this list. I'm still trying to figure out. When I'm satisfied, I'll put it on the shelf until something important comes up, and maybe I want to take it out. I still like it though. It hasn't wronged me yet or made me feel burnt out, so we'll see.
Cool. I think that's everybody. So we got moving on. Jeremy, you have talked about running a league. So for our local listeners, do you want to describe what this league is going to be like?
Sure. So there's been a lot of interest in a couple things. One thing is doing a league, some sort of organized gaming for Marvel Crisis. We have a lot of people who are kind of playing random pickup games all the time. And how do you kind of organize that? All the other games typically have some sort of organized something going on. So let's do that. And then the number 2 thing, Aaron and I and others have discussed for a bit, like how like what is like available for this game? Where can we go with it? Like what would we like to see? What are the changes that we're looking for, other people to do for us? What could we do as people who've played a ton of games and are saying like, hey, like if we were going to change something or do something right now to fix things and make a better environment for gaming and fun, right? Like, what could we do? So right now, if I were to make a league, which we're going to do mid-July, which I think is the 14th is when I want to start this, is we're going to start a league, and that league is going to be 5 points or 5 threat league and under. So you cannot bring any model that is above 5 points. Doesn't matter if lead or anything, whatever. If it is 5 threat or and below, you can take it. Build your list exactly the same. All other rules apply. It's exactly the same as you make for any tournament. It's all the same. You just cannot put a threat above a 5. So,
and does that include stones? Like if I give, is there anyone that crosses
No,
that line? Actually,
I don't think so.
Ebony Maw.
Maw.
Ebony Maw.
Yeah.
Ebony Maw.
Oh, a
Does
5
Ebony
to a
Maw
6?
being 6 points with the space stone count?
That would count. That counts as
Okay.
a 6. So you cannot do that. So I'll stop there with those exceptions. We can talk a little bit more about it.
Okay.
So kind of go around the horn there.
So I know Aaron has talked about previously. He has a lot of experience in Blood Bowl, and in Blood Bowl, the creating formats is really left up to the TOs and not really handled by the game company itself. And so they have a lot of experience, kind of creating their own organized play formats. And so, in that vein, Aaron, do you think that more communities should adopt something like this and create kind of like individual formats that they should try out on their own?
1000%. I've been screaming from the rooftops that we need to. If you don't like aspects of the game, whoever you are, should not be waiting on AMG to fix it. Like, there are a lot of people who quit games for various reasons. Usually it's because they don't like some aspect of the game or the meta or the community. Like I said, Blood Bowl, quote unquote, fixes that by having a fresh, competitive rule set at almost every tournament you go to. So you're never actually playing the same game, if that makes sense, even though the rules never change. It keeps everything really fresh. And is also used by the tournament organizers to weed out some of the egregious combinations or models. So if you didn't like certain aspects of Marvel right now, like you didn't like the big boy meta, and specifically, it's not that you cannot play into Malekith or Thanos or Hulk. The problem is you have to build answers into your list. So what if we took away 6+ threat? How does your list evolve? What are you able to do? And my hypothesis is that you'll be able to include more funsy models if you don't have to put in a Black Cat to stagger and a Pyro to root, or your own Hulk to counter their Thanos, something to that effect. So if you don't have to worry about it, how does your list evolve? And I think you'll see a lot more interesting models being taken that haven't seen playtime quite so much yet. We'll see how it goes, but that's kind of where the thinking's at. And so I wish whatever your problem with the game was, whether it's in your basement with your friends or a tournament organizer running an LVOS qualifier, run a variant, and then people will post kind of their thoughts after it, right? People will go and they'll talk to their friends or they'll post in the Discord, and it's called iteration. So we'll try this league, and maybe it's great. Maybe 1 or 2 bad things happen because Red Skull 2 is taken everywhere, and we'll get some data from that. But we'll iterate, and then someone in California will run a league, and they'll run it slightly differently. And at the end of a year, there's a whole lot of data for the community writ large to choose from, and to kind of make their own tournament packet, if you will, that's not official, but it's a way for the community to iterate on ideas without having to come to a group consensus ahead of time, which would never happen.
Yeah, I'm all for people like creating their own restrictions and stuff and playing. Like the 3-box format is exactly a copy of that, right? Like that's something the community just made up and started doing, and now 3 boxes happen all over the place. Affiliation battle, same thing.
Yep.
I think people need to be a little bit more liberal about how often they try these new things.
Parker, you have thoughts?
I I was actually just thinking this the other day. In card games specifically, I really can't stand alternate formats. Like, I don't know what it is about it. I do know what it is about it. I'll point you to it right now. I just had an epiphany. It's because in card games, the release cycles are quick enough that the whole metagame really shifts every 3 to 4 months, right? And that's my favorite part of the game is whenever something feels stagnant, I just want something to cause ripples in the pond, right? To shake it all up. And in a card game, the meta will shift much more quickly than in a tabletop game, just by virtue of the number of items you can put into the game in one release. Right? You get a release for MCP, you get 2 models. You make a release for a TCG, you can get 60 plus cards. And then all those cards are completely shifting the way things go, and that happens enough times that eventually, pretty soon, you can actually just say, let's just take all the older sets and push them off. So now there's another meta shift where you get a cycle of the number of cards that are legal, illegal, and that's already happened in MCP with some of the cards. But if everybody's sitting around going, "Well, I would like to see this happen much more quickly," then your idea is exactly apt, right? Just make it happen artificially. Because if you like the pace of a TCG and the way the meta shakes up, like I appreciate it, and so I almost exclusively play legal TCGs. Whatever the format is, whatever the most tournament legal format is, that's the only one I'm interested in playing, because that's the style I like. That's what I like to keep up with. But if a tabletop game can't do that, then yeah, create something for yourself.
Well, but you realize what you were pointing out is actually like a change in formats. A lot of things, like obviously, there's the new releases are its own thing, but like the creating a limited format of things cycling is a new format. And
Yes.
the most popular, I would argue that like the top 3 most popular card games in the world right now are all alternate formats of the original game.
And
Commander for Magic the
sure.
Gathering, Standard like for Magic the Gathering, Blitz and Classic Constructed for Flesh and Blood. There's a lot of alternate formats that come about in card games too, and I think that it's been adopted pretty well by the community.
I say cool on you. I'm not interested in Commander because it's not the legal tournament thing, and I'm not upset by anybody who likes it. I appreciate how quickly TCGs, their tournament format, whatever the tournament format is the most up to date, the one that constantly shifts all the time. I'm also totally fine with cardboard crack, right? I'm totally fine with it just continuing to buy the newest, latest thing. And some people are not, right? They want to say, let me buy something and I want to have this thing ad infinitum. I don't want to ever have to fix it with new cards, or if 1 or 2 cards comes out, I'll get 1 or 2 cards. And I don't mind buying a new set. Yeah. But in this game, or in any tabletop game, if you want to wait for that kind of overhaul to the entire meta, you're gonna have to wait, maybe years. And then, like what you guys alluded to at the beginning, people get upset. They go, "Oh man, this game's really getting stale. I'm really tired of seeing the same old, same old." You're like, "Well, then you should probably play a TCG, because that doesn't happen in a TCG. If you want to play a tabletop game, you should do something like this. You should do something like this league we're proposing, because that'll shift it up, really make you think differently about the game, and everybody who you normally play with will be thinking differently too with you. Won't that be fun to see everybody's solutions to these problems as opposed to the old problems?" I'm for it, but I'm usually against alternate formats in games that happen much faster. That was my point.
Yeah, I'm normally against like permanent restricted formats. Like, let's say they did like a standard rotation in MCP, and you can only play like, I don't know, the last 2 years of releases. Like, I'd be super against that, obviously. But I think in a small sample size, like as a one-off, I think it's really fun and interesting.
Oh, I would definitely be against like you can only play things that have been out for 2 years in any tabletop game, and I think, and it's because of what I just said. They can't release enough. The game would be so small. It would be. Sure. It would feel terribly small. No, the tabletop games are all designed to grow slower than that, and pretty much never turn over their models. Also, it's a model you're investing in, and you're usually painting them and constructing them. Making any one of those invalid is just a terrible idea for any community.
As a similar example, a lot of people I've heard recently suggest a rotating, like on a certain monthly calendar, doing a rotation of missions where it's like every 6 months or 3 months we get just a whole new mission pack that just stays refreshed constantly. And I think I would be against something like that.
So I agree with you. I'm actually bringing up my MCP spreadsheet. So I obviously I keep track of every game I play, and I was looking at it recently, and from my data, the scenarios in the game are in a very healthy state. I can go into more, but I'll just leave that statement linger for a while.
Mm-hmm. I think they're definitely in a stronger place than before
Based
the update.
Based upon the number of games you played with each one?
So there are 10 extracts. I have played, how many games have I played? 275 this year. Virus is my number one played extract at 35. And from then it goes down 33, 32, 32, 28, 27, 26, 22, 22, 17. There is a good distribution of extracts. Senators is at 17, and that's kind of the outlier because everyone's afraid of Brotherhood, even though that Boogeyman kind of went away, it still never gets played.
Mm-hmm.
So other than that, like I said, there's a really good distribution of extracts. Like, they're all very playable for very different teams. Paranoia is right in the middle. Some teams love it, some teams hate it. I don't know. I just think that the extracts in particular are a very good spot in terms of you're not seeing the same ones over and over. Secures are a little more diverse, but kind of the same thing. Everyone's afraid of X-Men, so you don't see Meteors, Madmen, Sword, and Portals are 4 out of the bottom 5. Fisk is second to last, and that's an interesting point we can talk about. But other than that, there's a good diversity in the secures that are taken. Whether it's a D on Riots, followed by Demons, which is the E, followed by Scoundrels. Those are the top 3, and they're very different secures. So anyway, I really like where the crises are at right now. I don't think I would update them more than about once a year, just to keep something stable in the game.
Yeah, I miss getting a new one, once every 6 months or something. I kind of miss that. That was nice.
So one every 6 months, totally with you. But what I would do, so one every 6 months, and then every year, I would give them a complete refresh.
Yeah.
What about every such and such block of time? Let's say every 3 months, they added 2 new ones and then retired 2.
If they were to go to a set rotation like that, I would be fine. That wouldn't bother me.
You say
that way it's not a complete upheaval, but it's a little bit of new stuff, and it's basically just tweaking the current missions. We didn't like the way Researcher was performing, so we made a new version of Researcher that's slightly different that encompasses the same feel, something like that. Or just hey, we thought there was too many low scoring extracts, so we got rid of one of them and added in one that's a little bit higher scoring to kind of level it out.
And the problem there is that it turns into more of I'm going to use Marvel Snap as an analogy. If you guys are familiar with Marvel Snap, it's
I am, yeah.
You're great. Is it MOBA? I don't know what type of mobile game it is, but
it's not.
For me, it's just something I play for fun, right? On a mobile game. I'm not super serious into it. I know some people are.
It's a mobile TCG is probably the best way to classify it. Yeah,
sure. But they update weekly, using metrics like you're talking about, Brandon. They track everything. Certain cards are performing above standard, or certain decks and don't have a counter. So the problem there is if something's disliked, people just wait. And they're like, well, they'll change it next week. Who cares? So I think AMG, I'm giving them a little too much credit here, but if something's egregious, they'll change it. The problem is the community thinks more things are actually egregious than they are. So if you're in the habit of changing stuff too often, people expect the devs to just fix it instead of iterate on solutions, right?
Definitely. And I think it's very easy to have too heavy of a hand in adjusting your game. Just because something is currently popular doesn't mean it's overtuned.
Yeah, so I would in an ideal world, every June they have a character update, and every November they have a crisis update. And other than that, everything has to be super abusable to get fixed outside of that window.
Like Malekith.
Yeah, exactly. Malekith got nerfed because he was fucking stupid. He still is, but that way people know, hey, if there's a problem, you think there's a problem, it's probably not getting fixed till June, so deal with it. Find a way, right? I don't know. I think that would be a really great schedule, but I don't even think they want to commit to that strong of a schedule. So
I feel like we kind of got sidetracked because we're talking about homebrew stuff, and then we got back to what we think. We started the conversation with if you're not willing to wait for something you think the developers of the game should do, why don't you make your own thing? Would it be terrifying for us to come up with our own scenarios and to do a league like that. Just be like, or like your idea, Brandon, just change something about researcher a little bit. Maybe something simple. Just put researcher, keep researcher, just make it 15 points. Just something small and simple.
So if you were to make an adjustment like that, so I'm all for the community taking a hand in game balance when it's truly like nearly unanimous recommended to be mandatory. But if you start introducing player written things into the game, I'm super against that. Now, if you're just like, hey guys, Gamma is broken, we need to ban it as a community, and we're like, I'd be like, you know what? They might be right. Go for it. Like, let's just agree that Gamma is not allowed at tournaments for a while and see how that goes. Like, and if the community went with it, that'd be cool. But if you're like, guys, I wrote this new mission called Evacuation, hear me out. And like, no, like, absolutely not. Like, I'm super against that. Like, within reason, like, yes, I would be for it. But it depends on in what form that would take.
I would support it as a one-off, like, tournament.
Sure, like,
let's
hey,
just
guys,
have fun. Hey, we're going to play with these, everyone's going to play with these new missions for this tournament. We're just going to have fun with it.
We're playing the Show Me Showdown mission in this special tournament. You're like, okay, sure.
Okay,
right.
So a tournament, you play 4 games. In a league, like a small league, are you planning on playing like 4 games? I'm talking about a league. I'm talking about what you guys are designing for your 5. I'm not talking about for a year. Let's play.
You're not talking about show up to casual game night and be like, I've got this special scenario here. Are you okay with I play with it?
No, I'm talking specifically about league play, like creating a fun league where you're purposely trying to deviate from the norm to get people to try new things, and in the same way that we're trying to deviate from the let's everybody play 6s to 7s and 8s.
I think so, and that's all about your game group, right? Like your group of folks that you play with. And we have a lot of different ones, but for the folks that I'm interested in is more of the I want to learn stuff, I want to get better at the game, and I want to grow as a gamer and eventually go to tournaments and do well, right? Like that's kind of the group I'm most interested in. Now, there is the storyline people who are into that, and they might very well do that, and that's part of their creative, like that's fun to them. That's certainly not what this campaign's about, but I can see where you're going with that, and I've done that with fantasy, with Warhammer Fantasy before, where every every week during a campaign I made them fight a dragon, and it was my own mission. Like that's what we did. Everybody had to fight a dragon, and that was part of the scenario. Because everyone was getting pissed at each other for doing dumb shit in fantasy, which turns out that that's kind of what that game was all about. So I made it a co-op game. That's just how I did it. But this campaign's more of not that. But I get what you're saying for sure. It can be done, and even maybe on week 8 there is an interesting scenario that is like that. That's not something I'm entirely interested in right now. And it's not the centerpiece of this campaign for certain.
No.
But I get what you're saying.
Speaking of like one of the things I might put my head to one day is to take a look at all this ridiculous amount of comic book knowledge I have and see if there's just like a bunch of fun titles or like story concepts and just throw them out there and see if people would like to build missions on them. That could be fun. This kind of league stuff gets me excited about incorporating, like you said, the story-driven side of it, because there is some really cool stuff from the comics, and they nod to that. All the scenarios nod to something important that happened in the comic book. So it would be cool. It would be cool to do some homebrew comic-inspired stuff. I think that'd be interesting. Which I know they already have like the crises with just a 1v1, but just play a different kind of scenario. That'd be interesting.
I do want to point out that I think it's important to get a good feel of what your community wants and not to like try and force people into things.
Exactly.
Not saying that I think people would do that, but I have seen some games the communities kind of get broken up over like there's a group that wants to play a certain kind of way and there's a group that doesn't want to play a certain kind of way. And if you divide the community like super hard line, then it can lead to like a big drop in interest in the game. And so just be careful not to like either overdo it or push people into something they don't want to do. I know there's a store in our area where some of the people, as soon as the keynote came out 2 years ago and they're like, here's the new card for Hulk, they were immediately playing Hulk on every table because they're just using the screen grab of the card. They're playing him in games for like 6 months. And then when the card comes out, turns out that they had errated other Tactics cards and removed other Tactics cards. So they were like playing Hulk with old Gamma launch, which is not how that works anymore. And so they were doing all kinds of crazy shit that was never actually legal in the game. And so some people didn't like that. And so just be cautious that you're not going too far. But obviously, as long as people are having a good time, that's all that matters.
Mm-hmm. And like you say, when you're saying listen, to the groups of people that are in your shop or whatever, like this is definitely a culmination of many people having discussions and saying, what do you want out of this game? I mean,
yes,
we all enjoy this game a lot. Like we've invested a lot of time and energy into it. And it's 95% to me, 95% solid. It just has that 5% where I feel like, why not? Right? Like let's do something and try something a little different, at least for a minute, and see how this goes.
I mean, personally, I would really like to see a lot more game stores pick up the character draft kind of play, where it's like we're going to do a chaos draft or like a what if tournament where we're going to put all the characters and we're going to go in a like Rochester style snake draft, and we're all going to just pick characters that all count as affiliated and play just a crazy tournament with it. Like it'd just be fun.
I even like the $100 draft. Like those things were cool. I would love to do a tournament, and I didn't like the long term one that we did.
Yeah, I think it drew out too long. The draft during the week and then just play a tournament on the weekend.
Get it done with. Yeah. I think that would be amazing. Just get it all done. That would be so cool.
God, Jason spent like $80 on Captain America because everyone bought all the leaders, and he's like, I don't have a leader.
Just for the experience of that happening was so awesome.
It was super fun.
That was very cool. So creating those moments, that's really cool. So that's the idea, the 5 point and under. I think, and really what I hope to see is people play 1 or 2 games for the campaign, and then play a couple additional games during the week for whatever they want. Like this isn't like a whole your entire 8 weeks is based on this campaign. It's just an element of gaming. Try it out, do it, see how you like it. Like maybe this is a better version or a I don't know. Go ahead.
You know what could be really fun? A Survivor League. Where let's say we do the draft, right? Like everyone buys like 20 characters.
Oh god.
You have to play 8 games during the league, but if somebody is killed, they're out of your list.
Oh
so if Magneto gets killed in your second game, you don't have Magneto anymore. And so you would play the games entirely different.
Oh, it's hardcore mode.
You're like, it's just like, I don't know if I want to take like Hulk, because if Hulk's just gonna die in the first game, then he's worthless. So you have to play the game very cagey.
Rogue Agents did that, I think.
If
we wanted to get their takeaways, I think it was not something they would do again based off of how it went.
Oh yeah, they did the permanent damage. They did permanent damage.
Permanent damage is a lot.
Yeah,
I think only if they were specifically killed, I think would I do it. That would be hilarious, though. So all the people that can't die, like Bob would be super valuable, just so
he can't die,
stays alive for the whole league.
You got to be very careful about getting.
Well, also you might all right, I'm just going to play down 3 points this week because I don't want to risk losing somebody.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh, it could be really fun.
I also I'm going to introduce one of the elements for the tournament is there will be essentially every week there'll be half of the people in it. And I hope to get at least 10, 12 people in this. 12 would be ideal. More would be better. But I would like to see a good versus evil or heroes, villains, whatever. Mm-hmm. That way you have members of your team that you're playing with. Not necessarily a team you're playing with at the same time, but you're rooting for these people to win, and then they're rooting for their side to win. And then there'll be a weekly update with a little tiny thing. It's not going to be a huge thing.
It's like the good versus evil struggle or something.
Yes.
Cool.
Just a little element and structure to create a team environment, because team things always end up being much more exciting and fun when it comes to these, and will hold the campaign together much better. And it gives you something to cheer for when you're not playing a game. Mm. So I'm working on that right now, and that'll be either next week or week after, whatever.
Cool.
And there'll be like if good is ahead for the next week, it'll be something like when you roll for priority, you get +1. Like it's not going to be critical, but it'll be a thing. That's all it'll be. It's not going to be rerolls on the table or anything dumb like that. It's just going to be some little something.
You also do like good guys choose points regardless of priority.
Yeah,
or
something like that.
Yeah.
Or choose your mission. Something. Something. Yeah. And I think it's going to be something like you can play the one game and be done, or you can play 3 games, and if you win both of them, it counts as a win. But if you end up losing 2, it'll count as a loss. So anyway, you get to play more than one game. Is my point.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Cool.
there's a few little nickel and dime dynamics that aren't that meaningful, but they're kind of cool and interesting. It's not that crunchy.
Have you come up with a name for it?
I haven't. I can't think of anything because I
So,
keep thinking Magic.
Initially, I thought like an under 6 league or something. That way, it's
Uh-huh.
just clear it's like under 6,
Like
or
a
you call it like the
pedophile?
limb. Yeah. You can also call it like the.
Hard pass.
Yeah.
You can call
the
it
pedo
like
league.
the.
Yeah, can we not?
Jesus Christ! Are you guys done?
I do not like little girl. What does Frank say?
We don't diddle kids.
We don't.
Oh God.
There's nothing.
Frank's little darlings. We don't diddle kids. Like
Yeah.
I think writing a song about how you don't diddle kids is the best way to make people think you diddle kids.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Anyway, I was gonna say you call it the Limbo League.
How low,
How low can you go? Yeah, there you go. Oh, I like that.
Initially, I just thought of Magic with Meekstone, like Meekstone League.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a perfect name yet, so we can work on
Called
that.
like the Henchman League.
Oh, that's not bad.
Minions.
Bob's
League.
Henchman. I kind of
Yeah.
like that. I don't hate that.
Just don't ask Parker, no matter what.
God.
I'm not saying a damn
He's
thing.
so bad at naming.
Incredible and
No, don't do it.
amazing. So it will be posted up under events and also in general, and it will be by like middle of next week. So I'll post something
Cool.
up, and everyone can talk about it and whatevs. There will be a little cost involved, but that will all come back as store credit if you finish the league. We were talking about that, like
I like that a lot. Encouraging people to finish.
Yep. So if it's $20, you'll put $20 in, and then at the end of it, you'll get your $20 back in store credit. Yeah. So something like that.
We should talk about pricing and stuff.
Yep. With that, all that's got to get flushed out. But yeah,
before
there'll be stuff.
Yeah.
There'll be stuff.
Anyway, cool. Very cool.
I'm excited. I think there's a lot of people pretty excited about it. And for those that are looking for someone to really take it out on, I think Quentin thinks that this is his journey in life.
It's like playing in the sprinklers.
Oh, I think that he thinks this is his journey in life. That
Mhm.
this is now happening because of him, and he
Mhm.
just wants wins, and this is giving him wins. So
I remember when you're like, so he's like, wait, so I can't play Amazing Spider-Man? He's like, no, up to 5 is good. And he's like, so I don't need to change my list? And you're like, no. He's like, amazing. Like, okay.
I'm like, but don't you okay, everybody
But
has
like-
a shitload of dudes, right? Like that's
Yeah,
not
he was
great.
like, but nobody will have Thanos. And he's like, okay, so I win for free? And it's like, it's like, that's not how this works. He was very excited.
I'm not gonna lie. When you announced this, it was like, okay, so every list I ever made before A-Force. I think it was the first list. I think it was the first 6-point model I ever put down.
So the fun part is when he announced this league initially, I just assumed the cutoff was 8 points. And so that way he could play Malekith and
No.
Immortal Hulk, and you can't play Thanos.
Oh my god!
I assumed that's where it was going. And then when he said 5 is the cutoff, I'm like, oh, that's different. Like I expected something else.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what that looks like. I mean, I would hate to think that the tables get. I just don't see it. I don't see any real issues. So we'll see.
No, I think it'll be good.
Yeah.
So that's going to move us into our next segment.
Okay.
We are going to have a brief conversation about the tall model meta, I guess, or just kind of like the meta in general. So my observation has been in an attempt to get practice with the boogeymen of the game, because we have a habit in the Kansas City meta of when we find something that's oppressive is we kind of avoid it. And so like the examples of the past have been like early game Shuri, then Thanos after the Black Order heyday, moving on further, we stayed away from Black Cat a little bit.
Voodoo.
There's been a lot of examples. Voodoo.
We never played
another
Voodoo.
great
Nobody
example.
played Voodoo.
Yeah, Voodoo didn't see the table in our meta for like 8 months because we just refused to play him. And it was mostly due to the fact that like, while we have a very active meta, we have a limited number of new faces coming in the store just because, it was a slow time for the game. And we always wanted, we were there to have fun and not to play the best things. And so it was kind of like a silent agreement. Like the casual people never kind of got to the power lists because they don't play enough to really find them on their own. And then, so we would avoid them that way. It wasn't because it didn't feel really fair to play them into them. It's also just more fun to play a variety of things as opposed to like the toppest tier things. And I feel like stuff like Voodoo and Thanos kind of narrows the scope of the game a bit. So now that we've been practicing for WTC, I specifically started playing Thanos in Guardians. And this has had the result of other people playing Thanos. And so now we have a bunch of people playing Thanos, and that's been, in my opinion, a bit of an issue at the store. And so I find it hard to get reps with powerful things while also not ruining the fun of other players.
Is this your version of an apology? Because I do not accept it.
Not sorry.
I do not accept it.
So I guess the question I have, and the talking point I want is the tall model meta in such a place that it is deterring people from playing? Like, let's say we all just played what we thought was the best stuff, whatever it happens to be. I think a large portion of those lists would end up including one of the 7 or 8 pointers in the game, because the majority of them are widely considered strong to overpowered. Like, Malekith was a big problem for a while. He got his nerf, but he still feels really strong. Thanos is just, a problem on every table he's put on. And then Immortal Hulk has been running rampant over a lot of people lately.
I actually think it's not a matter of... I think it's kind of like baked into the design of the game that if you were trying to do really, really well, because because you had a 10-man roster, and you can take 1 or 2 models out of your affiliation most of the time. You usually, once you get your core of affiliated models done, you have somewhere around 4 models to play with out of your affiliation. Taking 1 as a giant premium model just makes great sense, because it allows you to do it. It allows you to slap it down to really change the tenor of the game or accomplish something according to the scenarios. So I think if you're a very competitive player and you're trying to win the game, the game really has space for you to do that. There's no downside to taking 1 giant model most of the time. So I don't know if that's because it's baked into the game, I don't see it really as power gaming. Now, if you say Thanos is my list, I will only play Thanos, everything else in my list is serving Thanos, well, now you're trying to power game Thanos as a model, and that might be oppressive to in certain game rooms.
So as an example, in your example,
sure,
if I were to take Avengers and put in Immortal Hulk, you think that's okay?
I was actually thinking more like Hydra and Immortal Hulk, because maybe you want to put the affiliation card, make him affiliated and give him no so they can't react, like no react. I can't remember the undercover, the agent,
sleeper agent.
Yes, sleeper
That'd
agent.
Be terrible.
So like I want to. Well, I'm just saying.
Hypothetical example.
Yeah,
I'm giving an example. You're like, you're not penalized at all for taking that in Hydra. If I were like, I want to be able to switch and play sleeper agent on a really big impactful model, and you go, cool. That's what you want to do. You're not penalized in the game at all. You're not like you are not making your whole list about the Immortal Hulk. You took 1 tactics card and you have 1 of 10 easily you can fit that model if you're playing Hydra. So
but that doesn't. So I'm worried less about like how much you sell out for the particular item as opposed to how oppressive it feels. Because, like, for example, Sleeper Agent Hulk was a popular thing for a while,
right?
And it was strong, but obviously it's not good against everything.
Mm-hmm. Because what I'm saying is, if you go, I'm playing Sleeper Agent Hulk. That's the reason I'm playing Hydra. The other models on my list don't matter as long as I'm playing a Hydra leader and Hulk with Sleeper Agent. Then you're being oppressive. You're being a one. What's the word? A 1-note song, right? It's just that's that's no fun. Eventually,
I
people
don't.
are.
I guess I'm just not seeing the correlation as to the flexibility of your list and how oppressive something is.
I guess what I'm saying is I don't think you are attempting to be oppressive if you put one 7-point model in your list. I don't think that's what you're attempting to do. I think you are attempting to be oppressive if you say I'm playing Thanos with two Guardians models, one of them being Star-Lord, so that Thanos becomes the strongest model he can possibly be as Thanos. I think then you're trying to be oppressive through Thanos. And other people would probably start to get frustrated by that in a meta if they weren't interested in trying to beat Thanos, I guess. So to answer your
What do
question,
you?
I think you can be oppressive with a model on the table. I don't think you can be oppressive by putting a model in your list, I guess was my point.
I would disagree. Would anyone else like to comment first?
I also disagree, but I'm curious to hear what your frame of mind is.
So my frame of mind is that it really, in my mind, boils down to list construction. I'll give you two examples. So I played Brandon last week, playing against Thanos Guardians with Spider Foes. But this was my just show up to casual game night Spider Foes. I did not have a Thanos answer in my list. It was just regular Spider Foes with probably a beta splash. And that was it. I think I played a pretty clean game, didn't make a lot of mistakes, and got my ass handed to me. Because I don't have an answer that I think you have to have against certain models. So even if it's Malekith, one model, or Hulk, or Thanos, if I don't have an answer on my list, I'm fucked. That's what's oppressive. Doesn't matter if that's just one of their 10 models or not. If they put it on the table, I auto lose.
I would like to pick up here if that's all right.
We'll come back to my point, but go ahead.
No, go ahead. I don't want to lose that train. I
Sure.
really want to comment on that train of thought.
Okay. I will combat that with my TTS game going into Thanos Guardians, exact same list. But this time in a more competitive environment, I brought Sam Avengers with Hulk. That list has the tools to effectively deal with the Thanos. And I won the game. And I actually had a good time playing against it. Like it was very, cat and mouse. Are you going to move Thanos here? Am I going to stagger you there? Etc. So I don't think Thanos by himself is oppressive as long as I'm building a list to counter him, if that kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, there's my two examples of how a list can or can't be oppressive, and I'm just tired of having to build for the big boys in every list I put together now.
Yes, I agree with all of those points.
Okay.
So the reason I disagree with Parker is I actually think the opposite is true. So while we might have, let's say, in an example, the oppressive model is Malekith. So you including Malekith in like an Avengers list, like a Sam Avengers with Malekith included, it is, I think, more oppressive when you include a model like that and it costs you only one character slot, maybe a tactic slot on top to take like Midnight, for example. Mm-hmm. Because now your opponent was forced to construct their list with the tools to deal with said model, then get to the table and have to mental jujitsu their way to figure out if you're even going to play that model or not. And so they end up having to make these win or lose the game type decisions on complete hypotheticals, as opposed to if I'm playing like Malekith Cabal and I'm all in on that strategy, or like Thanos Guardians, I'm all in on that strategy. If they brought the tools, it's obvious that they play them. And I actually think that that's the example of when they become non-oppressive, is when you've included them and they are obviously able to play them.
But it's only one model out of 10. You can easily make a Guardians list that has Thanos and then a complete Guardians list, and your opponent's still playing chicken.
I strongly disagree after building rosters with Thanos Guardians. Because, first of all, you're losing your 2 restricted slots, which matter a lot in Guardians. And you don't, because of how restricted it is to put an 8-pointer in there, you have to take so many affiliated Guardians at specific point totals that the list doesn't really build outside of that. Like, you're at a severe disadvantage by not including that model. Like, I've spent hours staring at it. Like, I'm playing Drax because he literally must be in the list.
But Drax is not a bad Guardian.
He's not a terrible model, but he's not great in situations when you're like, well, I guess I'm playing Groot and Drax because that's the only way I can get affiliated. And I'm not even taking Rocket because, like, the points just don't work. And so, like, you have to do, it doesn't just smoothly transition because of his weird point brick, right? It's exactly 8 points that you must have. And you're giving up the restricted cards. and you're including other tactics cards specifically to keep Thanos alive. Like 5 of my tactics cards are devoted to Thanos. 3 of my character options are just there to make his points work. Like, he's 2/3 of my list just to make it function. And so that's all I'm saying.
And you think if you don't go that all in, it actually can't win? Like, it becomes...
No, but like this is the end conclusion of like, you know, when you said like I'm going to devote 100% of my list to making this happen.
Sure,
that's exactly what I felt I had to do, and so I'm building into that plan, and so I have to be able to answer Malekith, which is his biggest predator, and I have to be able to answer Helios later. So I've got cards like Escort and Recal and Fallback and things like that. I have to include to try and make that work, but they're actually mostly worthless on like 3 and 2 point models. It's only there so I can play them on Thanos. And so I've got my 2 restricted cards are tied up in stones, and then I'm taking 5 of my 10 tactics cards, and then probably 3 or 4 of my characters just into this package that I'm giving up. So like when I look at the reverse, I can't include stuff like Angela and Ghost Rider and all that other stuff that Guardians normally take. It doesn't fit in the list anymore. And so my Guardians list is literally just 5 affiliated Guardians members. And it's just like, but now what? Like, I don't have any strong models on their own. So I'm just kind of throwing a swarm of attrition models at people without the tactics cards to back them up. And so that's why I don't think the list is actually competitive on its own. Sure, you could win a couple handoff games against like casual players. But if you took it to a tournament, you would do badly because you don't have the tools you need to deal with the other person's strong models. Like if somebody just brought criminals, I just lose. There's nothing I could do. Somebody brings Web Warriors, I just lose. There's nothing I can do if I don't play Thanos. And so it forces me to play that option because my list is basically garbage without it. As opposed to like a Sam Avengers list that just has a Malekith thrown in. That is an easy transition for them to get out of. And so if my opponent shows up and he's like, well, I'm playing Shield with Helios. And you're like, well, I'm not playing Malekith because that'd be idiotic. So I'll just play a normal Sam Avengers list and Helios is fucking worthless. But my opponent has to figure out what I'm doing at deployment. And so now we're in this weird list chicken type of situation where if he plays like the anti-Malekith stuff and I don't play Malekith, he's wasted resources, which gives me an advantage.
Well, then we should all be playing Malekith and Sam Avengers, because it sounds like going all in with Guardians and Thanos is really pigeonholing yourself. If you can get this incredible advantage by just putting one Malekith in a Sam Avengers list, then that should be the better list. I don't know why we're spending
it's
all
not
this
an
time talking
advantage.
about Thanos.
It's a fair game at that point, ish. Like I
But
don't know that
only
Thanos
if
Guardians
they
are ever
bring-
disadvantaged. Let's put it that
But
way.
only if they bring the tools that allow them to fight at your level. If they don't bring those tools, it feels incredibly oppressive.
But it doesn't feel totally oppressive. You're trying to make a gradient between what's oppressive, an all-in Thanos Guardians versus a Malekith dropped into something like Sam Avengers, and I don't think there's more oppressive or less oppressive. I think both of them are trying to give you an advantage by the fact that you only have to take one model to completely dictate what your opponent has to do. I guess you lose some of your all-in because Malekith, you're not taking all the cards that could possibly keep Malekith alive, I guess. And so your opponent is penalized less for choosing the cards that will not deal with Malekith because Malekith. I guess I'm struggling to see the point. I still think an all-in Thanos list is more oppressive than Malekith dropped in any other list. I don't see how the list chicken is somehow worse than having to deal with Thanos. I don't see how.
Well, as an example, like the Avengers Sam list, the Revengers list I took to Springfield, I played against Thanos twice, and it wasn't even a close game. I completely tabled both Thanos players. And it was just like, because I had the tools available, and he couldn't stop me from killing him. And so I kill his 8-point model, and the rest of his list is solely designed to function around that 8-point model, and they just fall apart. And so, but on a Malekith version of that, like if I just can't line up the shot, or like he just doesn't play Malekith, I've devoted half my list to killing a model that isn't in play. And so it becomes a very different game all of a sudden. That's all I'm saying is like the oppressive list, there's no out, is all I'm saying.
Let me give you an actual example. So Perrin, for about 2 months, played Shield competitively. And he had Malekith in the Shield list. almost every fucking time the opponent was forced to play anti-Maltech. And then
Mhm.
just get blown off the board by Wide Shield. Every
By
fucking
just a
time.
competitive shield list, yeah.
Yeah, and Perrin didn't ever really want to play Malekith, but after he saw the effect putting Malekith in the list had on every other player he played against, he was like, this is fucking great. Like, my
Yeah.
opponent has so much anti-Maltech, because he has to bring it, or he just gets fucked. And Perrin's just like, nope, I was never going to play him. I'm just going to play regular shield. Yeah, like almost every time the opponent would, at the end of the game, be like, yeah, I had to bring X, Y, and Z into Mal, and yeah, it turns out I just died.
Mhm.
Like Pyro into Shield, that's so fucking horrible. You just get yeeted off the table by Winter Soldier in half a second.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I agree. It's anyway. I don't like big boys for a lot of reasons, but there's some real world examples for you.
I will agree that I'll absolutely concur that putting in one big model in your list can definitely make people, hyper focus on that and not look at the rest of the list. But I think, according to what Brandon is saying here, I think there is something to be said for, if I look at my opponent's tactics cards, if I look at the construction of the list, I can actually go, you know what, I have a reasonable suspicion he's going to play Thanos right now, or in your parents' case, Malekith. But I look at the list and I go, there is nothing here that's going to really support Malekith. If he puts Malekith down, he's basically playing him as a super solo, and he's not really supporting him in any way. So I don't think Malekith is actually that scary. I think I can deal with him with my list as is. I think you could do something about that as a player. I don't think, because I think Brandon, Brandon is right. I think most people will, when they're trying to showcase and really make that model their win condition, like Thanos.
Mhm.
It's pretty clear that they're doing it.
It becomes extremely binary, and
Right.
so it's very easy to
Now,
predict what your opponent's going to do.
I do agree that people just get scared, and they only have a
Mhm.
couple minutes to choose their list. It's not like they have lots and lots of time to think about all the intricacies of what you're really doing.
Right.
But there is definitely a way to trap people. I'm not disagreeing
Mhm.
that's a thing that happens. But if you're a discerning player, or if, like Brandon said, we started the whole conversation with, I purposely played Thanos to make sure I knew how this works. I think now he could tell by looking at a list. Oh no, that Thanos is a spoof. It's not really going to be there.
Do you know how many times since I've started playing MCP that at a tournament somebody read all 10 of my tactics cards?
Yeah,
probably 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think that's exaggeration. I might be overshooting it. Like, the number of times my opponent has asked me what cards I have beyond my 2 restricted cards and actually read all 10 of them and absorbed the information is probably less than a half dozen, I would guess. And it's just, like, how are you supposed to know then? Like, I could just have Thanos on my tray as complete bluff. They'll probably check his stones, which will give him a good indication if I'm totally bluffing or not. But like, I can tell you, I walk to a lot of tables and they just look at your tray and they go, okay, I know what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And they don't even consider that, like, your Thanos had Soul and Power Stone that you're just joking, and they just blindly assume that you were playing Thanos. So yeah, that does happen. And when it comes down to the oppressive stuff, it's probably just semantics of how we're individually defining it. But I think the overall question is, like, is it oppressive? Like, does it feel like does your opponent get a negative attitude about the game when they play against your list? Or is it just like a challenge for them? And I can tell you, like, and it's not just Jeremy, it's mostly Jeremy, but not just Jeremy. The visceral reactions I get when I deploy Thanos is just like, it's amazing. It was just like, I don't actually care to play this list, but I think people think I'm trying to steal their souls or something. Like, it's so weird. I'm just like I don't even want to do it anymore. But, like, I feel like if I don't, I'm not getting the experience I need to perform at, like, the level I'm hoping to perform at.
We've talked before about, like...
I mean, there's 3 of you that are all playing Thanos. I think that you all need to play each other, just round robin, and each one of you can kick each other in the nuts after every game. Mm-hmm. And just until someone falls over, and then 2 people play just continuously. Just have a blast.
Yeah. I played the mirror twice now.
Excellent.
Jeremy does not care.
The answer is it's very oppressive and it sucks balls. Like, it's really bad. Mm-hmm. A tournament environment's entirely different. That's fine. People show up with what they're going to show up with. I fully expect to catch both barrels, and that's fine. But to play it game after game and not learn anything, and like again, and I say that because number one, if you're playing against Malekith, the things that can happen, you just start losing models for no goddamn reason. Like his dice are better than almost anything in the game, and you can lose any model at any time, and it will not stop sometimes. So you get no information about the game. Like you can just lose. Also Thanos, you can do no damage against Thanos. None. You can do no damage. Then he can gain all his power off of you. Even though you denied him power, he can drag someone in, gain plenty of power to do everything you were trying to deny him, and then he'll move all your shit. So, like, all your plans are gone. That is horrible. That feels awful.
The most oppressive games I've played is when, like, randomly he spikes a roll, does 6 damage, and he's like, I'll port all of your models.
Yeah,
and like you said, I've said the word, I will port all of your models before. And then just took some of the power off my card. Not all of it, some of the power off my card, and moved every model my opponent had. And I was just like, this is not okay. Like, nothing about this is okay. Like, this game is over.
And the least egregious...
Because I spiked a roll.
The least egregious is the cheapest, and that's Hulk, which is punch you twice and then throw something guaranteed of almost unlimited size. Like, and be there for 3 turns, almost guaranteed. Fucking, that's phenomenal. But very killable and manageable in 3 turns. Those other 2 are not. Those other 2 are simply not.
So I will have to disagree there. So I'm with you, Jeremy, on the I don't like them. But I think you have to decide if we're talking about in a competitive list where you have thought about it and have answers for them, or if you're like, I want to show it with Midnight Suns and test out iHulk. If it's the latter, which is what I'm trying to do, like I'm on a quest to play all the affiliations in the game, but if I have to include like Pyro, Bill, Black Cat in every list, I never get to play any other fucking characters. That's what I don't want.
I know.
Right? So personally. But I really think if you want to design a competitive list anti-Thanos, it's not hard.
It's really not.
But you absolutely have to do that by design. And that's what I don't want to have to do anymore. But so I think Thanos is killable, but you absolutely have to have that as a starting point in your list is how do I deal with Thanos? And you build your list around that. And then ask the same question about Malekith, right? And then you ask the same question about like why Avengers and every other top medalist in the game. Yeah. And that's what's a little mentally draining in competitive MCP right now is the answers you have to have in your list means that your actual list diversity is shit.
Yeah.
I agree.
I do find that to be the real problem. The most oppressive list I think we've ever seen in the game was old school Black Order with Thanos in the 17-point package when there was a single extract. And so if they won priority, they got to choose extracts. They would always get one of the 3 singles, and they would have Corvus with Reality Stone, Proxima, Thanos, and 2 other stones of their choice. And it was usually Time and Mind Stone, I believe. And it was... You just basically couldn't beat it. Like, if they got priority, you just lost the game. It was so hard to do anything against it. And the real problem with the list is that it took up 3 character slots. And so you got to play, like, whatever else you wanted to. And it was so impossible to predict what they were going to do. Because if you built everything you could into stopping Thanos, they're like, oh, just kidding, I'm playing Brotherhood. And you're just like, how are you supposed to deal with this? Like, it's just, even if you have the answer... You have to answer every other affiliation of the game also that can fit in a 7-character package. There was no win. You would just... that list could have a 100% win rate against some lists. Like, it was absolutely oppressive. And so that's more what I'm worried about. It's like, okay, so if we solve the code that is the single tall model, whatever that model happens to be, you still have to solve the rest of their list if they're not all in.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm concerned about. Like Aaron's talking about is like, well, I brought Pyro and Iron Man and Helios Laser and Black Cat. Okay, so I'm ready. And then there's like, they show up with like X-Men. And you're like, oops. Like, now what? It's like, I don't know how.
Like, wow, what I'm you really
about.
Hate Beast, huh?
Yeah, exactly. 38 dice into Beast. Oh, sorry. I guess he's in cover, so he might live.
Jeremy rolled about 35 fucking dice into Green Goblin the other day. God almighty. Yeah. It's just fucking Green Goblin. What did Norman do to you?
He needed it.
So yeah, I'm just wondering have we gotten to a point where the tall lists are so hard to deal with that you can only beat them with a very specific list build, and is that list build not fun to play? Like, I know Aaron's talked about because he's trying to play everything in the game, and it makes it hard to play competitive rosters at the same time.
Yes.
But is it just the tall people, or is it competitive rosters in general?
Just the tall people, for the most part. And I say that because the vast majority of my games competitively on TTS have been into, Malekith, Sun's Hulk, or Thanos. You don't see a lot of White Avengers or Hellfire or Webs, whatever the case may be. That might be problematic, but I never feel like I don't have a game into them. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, it's just a weird situation to be in, where it's like, I haven't felt bad for playing anything in the game since that old Black Order list, but now it feels like every time I go to build a new roster, I'm just like, is this okay? Like, can I play this at the store and not feel bad about it?
Oh, just ask your opponent. Like, are we in for, like, meta competitive or not? If the answer is no, don't put Thanos Guardians on the table.
Yeah, but then I have to build, like, a whole second roster to have with me, which is, like, annoying to go get out a bunch of new Tactics cards, move all my missions to a new roster, get all cards out. Like, that's a whole process every time I'm trying to play. So usually what I end up doing is I just only play the casual roster, which is what has happened for the last 2 years.
Yep. I mean, I've got 2 rosters ready to go in my bag. And you're right, there is some overlap in the cards and whatnot, but whatever. It's not that big of a deal. I would rather... So I like to get competitive games in, right? So I don't mind playing into your Thanos Guardians with my, at the moment, Sam Avengers list.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I don't really want to play Sam Avengers. I'd rather get reps in with, let's say, Spider Foes, because they're just more fun right now. So I've got both lists, and I don't mind the minor card swaps I have to do to, move fall back into one of the lists or whatever I have to do.
Mm-hmm. So what I've done now is I've basically isolated my Thanos package in Guardians and pulled it out and then added an equivalent number of cards for just a normal Guardians list. So I've got my one list that's just got like the hard mode and the easy mode kind of like selected in it. And so I'm going to try that now, but it just, I don't know.
Did you swap Thanos for Agent Venom? And if not, why not?
So the reason I said I don't like Agent Venom is I find that he is too power hungry to be consistent. And so he is really dependent on getting an early game spike to be threatening, unless you can do something to, like, adjust his playstyle in some way. And if I'm taking a 4-pointer, I really want them to be self-sufficient, and I just feel like he's not far too often.
How many times have you played for an assignment, and how much work have you got out of it?
0 times.
Okay, that's your problem.
But to be fair, I'm playing Thanos Guardians, and so
sure.
like,
No.
it's not. Yeah, it's a different
Agent Venom
list,
does
right?
not have a place in Thanos Guardians.
Well, he doesn't anymore.
Sure. Just saying.
No, but so
he is a
really
god in regular Guardians.
I really like Bill. I think I overrated Bill in Guardians a bit. Specifically Thanos Guardians.
Depending on the matchup.
Gamora is better than expected, despite she has literally failed me at every possible opportunity. Like, I am winning in spite of her, not because of her, but I understand the math behind the decisions I'm making, and eventually it will come back to the average. Yeah. It's like, I can only roll so many 10-die attacks, counting double wilds and pierce, and get 0. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, she's thrown, like, with the 2 rerolls, 12 dice, with pierce and wilds counting as 2, and gotten 1 hit 3 times.
Oh.
Yeah, no, it's just kind of got me.
That's you.
Yeah, I know. It's 100% me, right?
That's not business. That's personal.
Yeah. But yeah, I just don't know. I feel like, are we in a spot where there is a noticeable disparity in, like, are the expensive models just better?
Yes.
If we're voting right now, yes.
Parker? Yes, no. Got to vote. No abstaining.
Because if you had asked me this, like, after the Malekith nerf, I would have said no.
Well, the question I'm asking myself is, no, I don't think they are. I think it's just rock, right? I think there's paper and there's scissors. I think it's just rock. I don't think it is better. I think it is better against something, and I think if you don't have paper, you lose to rock. But that's, I think, because I was thinking the same thing. I was like, what about Sam Avengers, right? Sam Avengers just goes super duper wide and plays a really consistent game with a whole bunch of activations and
With
actions
Hulk.
and no Hulk, just Sam Avengers. Just
No,
a
no,
whole
no,
bunch
no,
of
no, no,
little
no,
guys.
no, 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 no.
Yeah, Hulk is kind of key to that.
Hulk
I don't
is.
think he is. I don't think you have to
That's
play him.
not.
Okay.
If you want to put Hulk on the list, fine, or not. I don't care. The point is, I think that's. I'm not telling you that's paper. I'm just saying that's scissors, right? Somebody has to figure out how to answer that, because if you go, I'm going to make sure to beat Malekith, and I'll always have all the answers to Malekith, then you probably won't have the answers to Web Warriors or Sam Avengers or uh, 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 something weird like Hydra with what's Black Cat and I'm just making me so mad. I can't think of the damn Doc Voodoo. Like there's a bunch of things like that you could do in the game that are really really good lists that are totally different than the profile you see with Malekith and Immortal Hulk, and I don't think one is better than the other. I think they will win because they have an advantage against your list, but I think that's rock paper scissors. So no, I disagree. Big models are not better.
I hope you're right. I'm conflicted at the moment.
I had hoped that was true for the last 6 months, and strongly pressed for it to not be true. But I can tell you, Malekith games are easy. Put those games in the bag, man. Malekith games were so easy. There's a reason for that. Priority system is kind of broken, and Malekith is fucking big and broken. And the shit some of those big models do just is not the same as some of the rest of the game. It's different.
So I feel like Immortal Hulk is one of those models. It's like a Loki. It feels weaker than it is when you play it, and when you play against it, it feels stronger than it is. And so it's always hard to get a good read on Immortal Hulk because it feels so not fair that you just can't kill him. Like there's just a rule written down that he can't die. And so it's like, what do I do? I can't kill him. And so it like causes all these weird trains of thought. But on the far side, you're like, man, they're going to kill my Immortal Hulk. And it's just like, it's this weird situation you're in. It's like, well, like, I know how he's going to die, and I can't stop it. So it's just, can I get enough done in the meantime? And then on the other side table, it's like, he's never going to die. He's going to kill all my stuff. And it's just like this mental, like, gymnastics you have to do to, like, get through all the bullshit.
But,
at least that's how I feel about him.
But see,
and then Thanos, it's the same thing. You're trying to figure out everything Thanos can possibly do. And the Thanos player's like, I'm going to do this. Like, it's already pre-planned out.
Yeah.
But I think the same thing can happen. I think absolutely the same thing can happen in a game where you're playing against criminals and there's 6 criminals on the board. You can look at the criminals and go, oh, he has 6 criminals on the board and there's 4 or 5 secures. I know exactly what he's going to do, but I can't stop him. And he's not playing Malekith. Malekith isn't in his list, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that he was playing it. I don't have the rock for that scissors. He's playing that kind of list, and he's just going to ignore what my models do. What I'm saying is there is equally oppressive stuff across this game, and it's not just underneath the big models. I don't think the big models are the rock that everybody has to turn over and go, oh, look, this is the broken part of the game.
I think that's a fair statement. There's plenty of strong things in the game, not exclusively tall guys.
I concur.
It's just the rate of the tall guys being strong just seems at a much higher rate. And when it comes to the tall guys, like, because their abilities are stronger because they're more expensive, so they need to be stronger. It just feels like they command so much more of the game than other models do. And like you're saying, if you build a strong synergistic list that all does similar things, you have to combat them on a full front as opposed to like one focal point. Mm-hmm. So it's a different way you have to attack it.
I mean, people used to be really upset with my list, the bucket of bullets list, because they go, I can't kill anything because everything kills me, and I go, because there's nothing to kill. I can't, because everything just kills me equally well, and everything shoots above its weight class. And I go, yep. So it was just a different problem, right? It was a different problem they had to solve, and it was difficult to solve that problem for a lot of people, and so it felt really oppressive, and people didn't enjoy playing it. But I didn't have a single model above 4 points in that list.
Yeah,
people needed to stop sitting on points. But yeah.
Well, also, like, the answer to that list kind of is tall models. Like, you get models that have extremely consistent above average defense that aren't worried about 4-die attacks nearly as much, and then you struggle to get enough attacks on them to bring them down. Mm-hmm. Like a Thanos in cover with Reality Stone. It's like he's average blocking 3. It's just so hard to get past that with 4 dice that it's like on the few times you'll spike, And so it's like you're saying, it's the circular meta.
Mhm.
And so like that's the thing that preys on those guys. And then, when you're already intentionally not scoring as the bucket of bullets list, then getting ported off the objectives you were contesting is just so much harder. So like the game blows out really fast.
Yeah.
But yeah. So this was just conversation I've been wanting to have for a while, because I know we've had a little bit of a frustration moment in the store where it's just been like, man, why is everyone playing all these annoying lists all of a sudden? So, but I'm excited.
They were playing those
We can
annoying
say
lists
it was
because
just
you brought
Jeremy.
them. You brought them.
Well, I was just saying
You're
what
their
you were
mother.
saying.
It's like for some reason they were like
I am the harbinger of death.
Yeah, you fucking Pied Piper those motherfuckers into the store.
Jeremy's just jealous because my Thanos looks so good. Well, he's dunking all of his models. So, boom. All right.
I'll just one more thing I want to say about
You got
this.
something else?
Just a small thing, and I think it's its own point. There are some models that get printed in this game that are people like, this guy's so cool, or I love this guy from the comics, the story, standpoint. If you just really, really love like Malekith, or the idea of the giant bog tiger, you're just like, that's badass, and you want to play Malekith. The thing I don't want to happen is people go, but I can't play him because people think he's oppressive, so I can't play my favorite fun guy. I think you should get the right to play the models you think are really fun. When you played Doctor Strange and Magneto, I know it's because you just love Magneto and Doctor Strange. I hated playing you when you played those two models. I hated it, but I would never.
A lot of people said that.
But I never would tell you not to, because I knew the reason why you're playing those guys is you loved the way they were on the table, and you loved them from the lore, and you loved how they felt on the table from the lore. Everything about them was just so fun for you, and yet insanely oppressive to play against. So I don't think anyone should ever be told or should ever feel pressured to not play the thing they like because somebody said it was oppressive. I don't like that. I think you should get to play the thing you think is great.
Yeah, I agree. Like so many people told me that Magneto was completely broken and not okay for the game, and I was just like, I don't care. I'm playing Magneto every game for the next year, and it was just like all day, every day. I love playing Magneto so much. He's so fun. So yeah.
What's crazy now is if you play Magneto, like.
It's like, it's just Magneto.
You're like, yeah. You're like, man, this guy could do so much more than he does. You're like, damn it, he didn't roll nearly as well. I wish he had more. I wish he had better dice.
Why didn't he have Pierce?
Yeah. Just
6
like
dice.
His crits should explode like 3 times.
He doesn't get blanks. What is this?
Yeah.
So I want to come back to that point you just mentioned, Parker and Brandon, because I actually disagree with you guys, and I think I'm in the very minority here. I think at the end of the day, AMG prints a model, and the only thing you're guaranteed when you buy that model is the plastic that comes in the box. I would much rather game health be prioritized over the fact that people want to play with the models they brought, if that makes sense. Obviously, there is going to be a number of months when the model is going to exist as it was printed, because you're never going to change the model that quickly, right? But after that time period, let's say Malekith, let's say you're super pissed because the nerfs to Malekith is not the model you bought, you don't like playing the new version, blah, 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 blah. My answer is I still, regardless of the model, want a healthy, fun game. And if they need to nerf your favorite toy, I'm okay with that. And I need to be okay with my favorite toy being nerfed for the greater health of the game.
I don't think that's exactly like. I think everyone needs to play by the official rules of the game. I think Parker was saying that you shouldn't shame people at your game store for playing whatever their favorite model is in its current state. Like if you're playing Malekith and like everyone's like, "Oh, Malekith should be banned," like, yeah, but like don't just be mean to somebody at your store because they're playing it. They might just be trying to have the most fun they can have. Like, and not to mention like a lot of those people, the people that actually just want to play it for the sake of playing it, probably aren't playing the super high-powered list either. They're probably just like when Black Order first came out, they're the same people running Black Dwarf, which because it's like, I just want to play the Black Order. I don't care.
Sure, depends on who you're playing, but I'll give you that.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think anyone should be out there going, well, evacuation efforts is my favorite mission, so I'm going to play it. And you're like, well, but it's banned. You're like, I don't care.
I think people try. I think people getting shamed for using their favorite models, and you're exactly right, is wrong. But I also agree with you, Aaron. I think those two things can exist at the same time. You shouldn't shame people for using the thing they're excited to play, and you shouldn't also go. You shouldn't cry foul and have such sour grapes whenever they attempt to balance the game around a misstep, right? They aimed incorrectly, and it just so happened to be your favorite model.
Yep.
In my point of fact, I think, from my personal point of view, I actually think it makes it more fun. It makes it a little bit more challenging to play your favorite model, and you have to work a little harder, and I think that's fun. But if somebody isn't, and they just want to, be butthurt about it, then they probably don't have a healthy attitude.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that everyone understands and agrees that I reserve the right to shame Brandon whenever I fucking want to.
Yeah, you can shame Brandon whenever you goddamn.
Thank you.
I don't understand. What is this word you refer to?
I was going to say, that's why I knew you could do it.
I'm going to need you to put the word sham?
Shame
In a sentence.
Yeah.
Meaning? Origin? Yeah. There's a fun old anecdote. Actually, one of the Muse guys, his name's Crump. He was running a journeyman league for War Machine up at their store, and one of the competitive players walked over. And journeyman league is basically a slogan. So let's say we play, 17 points. A slogan league would let's say hypothetically you would start with a 3-point model and a 2-point model, and then the next week you get to add a 4-point model, and then you just keep going until you ended up with a full list. And it was supposed to be to teach people the game, just because it's a totally different scale. You'd basically show up with 4 models instead of 50 models. And it was a way to get people an intro level of the game. And it was very heavy-handed in keeping the broken stuff out of the game. So you would have to play really bare bones, generic models that were not crazy. You have to play Peter Parker Spider-Man out of the core set, nothing crazy. And then it was the equivalent of 2 people showed up with MODOK and Hulk to the Journeyman League. And you're well, you can't do that. That's and so the guy walks over to the table and sees what they're doing. He's this isn't okay. You guys can, and Crump goes hey, leave them alone. Just let them have their fun. He's well, they're breaking the rules. They're going to overpower the league. And they look over and it's Hulk and MODOK staying on opposite sides of pay to flips and just arguing over a pay to flip all day, but not actually attacking each other was the equivalent of what they were doing. He's just let them have their fun. They're not hurting anybody.
Yeah.
it was that equivalent. So just because somebody's playing something strong doesn't mean they're trying to ruin everybody's day. And so that's all I want to say. It's a fun anecdote. It was a very fun game to watch. All right. Aaron, how you doing in the TTS league?
Week 6 just wrapped up. I ended up winning that to go 5-1 and make cuts for season 11.
Ooh. Did you play Dark Dimension?
I did not play Dark Dimension. I might
Trash.
Play Dark Dimension next week. We'll see.
I'm trying to convince him to play Dark Dimension in Top
Inhumans.
It's not going to be Inhumans because I think Inhumans could be good, and you just need reps with them.
You don't need reps with
Dormammu. Is it Dormammu?
Dark Dimension.
Okay.
Dark Dimension. You just need. Was it crit skull wild hit block? What is it? That's what you need.
All you need.
Okay. If I feel I'm rolling well, I'll just roll out some Dormammu on it.
I'll say it's not well, is it? It's consistent. You need average. Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Crit skull
hit
block.
block
It's all
skull
in your head. It's
I
all
think-
in your hand.
Rolling what you need as well, whatever that
Yeah.
combination is.
I'm still going to play Dark Dimension with Spider-Woman and Captain Marvel and do on patrol turn 1. Just to see what happens, just to see what people scratch their head.
This is for science.
just people go, wait a minute, every time you do anything, small move. Just have them dance around the table on turn 1.
You've got the slots for it.
Yep.
Yeah. I want to reprise my Bernie Boys list and just do Dormammu, Ghost Rider, Pyro. And just get them boys. All the burning boys.
So that reminds me, in my quest to play all affiliations, I am down to only needing 8. So I will give our listeners an update next week, which will be the 6-month point after June is fully finished. But
You're ahead of the curve.
I'm well on my way.
Mm-hmm.
Dark Dimension is still on the list, though.
Hopefully don't release 4 more affiliations in November.
I'm only playing every card that was out at the end of 2022.
Oh, well, that's not even trying. Why don't you do something actually hard?
Say what?
Why don't you do something hard?
Sure. It's 134 models. And I'm sure I'll play some models that came out afterwards, but I have to draw a line somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I found myself trying to like dojo a couple things lately, and I'm getting really deep in that ham crate, and like I'm not sure if what I'm starting to make is like good or just complete ass. But it's definitely one of the two. There's no way it could be in the middle.
You're
It's
riding
definitely
the
going to
waves of
be
insanity for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, if I was just, I mean, this is going to sound like I'm talking down to people. Don't worry, Parker. It's not you. If I had just the most boring mindset ever, I could definitely play the Avengers list and probably pilot it to like a 70% win rate. I just get so bored. It's like, I got to do something. Where's my 8-point models? Like, go get them.
I'm not cheating hard enough.
Yeah, exactly. These models are so fair. They're doing like 28 dice attacks. I need something better. Anyway, Parker, do you have... Oh,
hold on.
we got something?
Special note.
Segue.
Special note. Hold on. Special note. Can I tell you were right about something, Brandon? You were very
Hold on.
right.
Let me sit down first.
No.
I know.
Wait. Let me... Oh,
Whoa.
whoa. Conveniently, we
You
already
gotta-
have 5 people recording this. Go ahead.
Yeah. Punisher is unfucking believable.
He's so good.
Jesus Christ.
There's a reason that guy is about to get released again. I think he's going to cost 6 points this time.
So, like, when Perrin was talking about him and Aaron was talking about him, they both were like, yeah, I mean, Perrin, like, even likes him better than Bucky. I'm like, what?
That guy's an idiot.
What?
Like, who said
Like,
that out
that's
loud?
the dumbest thing I ever fucking heard of. I can't, like, we were playing, and I kept using, I used Bucky in the second game, and I was like, who is this trash that should be fucking Punisher?
Why am I playing bad models?
God damn, that guy is stupid as fuck.
Okay, how about this? If they instead gave Rogue Agent to Punisher, is he in more lists than Bucky?
Oh, I think the world would be scared. Like,
I know. They'd be like, this guy is a terror.
dude, anyway, I
He
just had to gush for a
just
second.
slides around like a drifting shadow, like a reaper, just killing people.
Because he is. He's one of those and then models. How much power do I need? Okay,
Okay,
now I'm going to do that.
so I don't think you understand how broken he was for about 6 months. So, you know all the stuff he can do. Have you really grasped the things he can do?
I believe so.
Okay. Doomed Prophecy.
Yeah. Yeah.
No. And then all you've got.
Oh, God. Yeah.
So he's got a 7-die rapid fire attack. He gets to move short, and then he gets to activate twice. He just says, all of the models within 15 inches of me are asleep. Like, that's what he says.
Yeah, I think you actually did that to me.
And then you play Blood Red and Personal, and it's like, oh, no. Like, if you just play Shoot 'em list, and you down, like, 3 or 4 other models by turn 2, and so, like, going into turn 3, you have priority, you're like, Blood Red and Personal, kill these 4 models. And they're just like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what? It's like, oh, God, it was so fucking brutal.
Yeah, he was super good, man. Super good.
Mm.
He's in my list now, for sure.
Yeah, oh my God. He was literally the Grim Reaper. Then they banned both those cards. It was really weird.
Yeah. Oh!
It's odd. No, I don't know why. Oh, man. Anyway, so Parker, do you have a comic corner for us?
Yeah, I got a comic corner for us. It's another rapid fire model that doesn't have to roll a dice. It's actually a Black Widow title. I got turned on to this. Just a random thing popped up on my Marvel Unlimited, and I was like, I don't think I've ever read a solo Black Widow title. And it's the one from 2014. They've actually been written a couple times, but this one was penned by Nathan Edmondson. And one of the things that drew me into it really fast was the artist. The artist's name is Philip Noto, and if you don't recognize the name, it doesn't super surprise me. He doesn't have like a huge acclaim, but what he does do is really, 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 really interesting art where he blends a lot of colors. His his characters are usually kind of square. He does things like very squarely. He doesn't like do hyper realism. He kind of deviates from realism. Probably his most famous comic, who's one stuck around the longest, is the Poe Dameron comic from the Star Wars line in Marvel. He's done some of my favorite X-Force issues ever. And then he shows up in this Black Widow, and it looks perfect because he doesn't do a lot of like crazy contrasting colors like you might see in like cosmic titles. Everything's kind of mute and everything's kind of toned down, and so for like a fully espionage version of the Marvel Universe, it's perfect. Everything's kind of monotone, and that's exactly what you want when it's just a spy thriller in comic book form. Quick plot synopsis to get you excited. Black Widow, this takes place right before the big Marvel reset, so she's definitely an Avenger. She's definitely a super spy. She's, part-time she's working for S.H.I.E.L.D. But one of the things you actually get to see for the first time is what Black Widow does when she's not working for S.H.I.E.L.D. One of the things that's never really explored in any comic is what do Avengers do when they're not being Avengers. Spider-Man's, solving crime in back alleys, and Wolverine might be teaching a class at the Xavier Institute, but what about character like Black Widow? Well, she's making ends meet by being a pro espionage agent, being a super spy. And so she takes contracts, and sometimes she just murders people. Sometimes she's saving people. She has a certain list of things that she has to have before she'll take a contract. But if the person she's killing is evil enough, yeah, she'll kill him. If the thing she's getting is benign enough, yeah, she'll go steal from that country or that entity. So of course, over the course of the issues, she gets wrapped up with an international organization that's pulling the strings behind a lot of different deals, and it seems totally random, and they don't know why it's operating the way that it does, but she gets embroiled in it, and pretty soon she's one of the foremost people in the world who has any sort of, dealings with this shadow organization, because everybody else who deals with them dies, and she hasn't died yet because she's the Black Widow. They really talk her up. It's very much a Jason Bourne thing where everybody who sees her is like, oh shit, it's Natasha Romanoff. Like they immediately freak out because she's the Black Widow and she's that good. And so if you've never seen her, because she always kind of takes the back seat in a lot of comics, she kind of, in Avengers comics, she's usually the one flying the airplane until it crashes, and then she gets out, and you might see her in the back shooting a random space monster in the face, but you don't see her take center stage in a lot of Avengers stuff. It's usually the main three solving the big problems, and she comes along with maybe a gritty or interesting solution to something, but she's not a big mover or shaker. But in this one, it's entirely her. They actually address it in the comic, where you get to see the monologue is almost entirely from her perspective, and so you get to see the way she thinks about being an Avenger and the way she thinks about being a superhero / spy, and how she kind of resents the fact that she is the black sheep. They also address the fact that sometimes the Avengers need dirty work done, and she is always just kind of the default person to do that, and how the Avengers feel about her position on the team is super important, but also they kind of have to distance themselves from her because she does do these things, and if anyone ever found out, then it'd be a big black mark on the Avengers image. So there's a lot of cool things that happen in the comic that is addressed. If you've ever wondered, how does a super spy agent assassin also be an Avenger, and how does she deal with things outside of being an Avenger, because that's what it focuses on most of the plot. Really, really good. Black Widow it's a solo title from 2014. Very, very strong.
Cool. Anything else we want to hit before we get out of here?
What's your Diablo level?
I am at level 79.
Nice.
What are you?
53.
Trash.
I know. Noob.
Do you even Paragon?
Barely.
Just barely.
Just barely. Just the tip.
Aaron, what's your level?
87.
Good lord.
Damn. Did you feel a wall around 85?
No.
Okay. So a lot of people are quoting this stat that level 85 of 100 is the halfway point in XP points needed, but obviously based on the rate at which you gain XP, that is not directly relevant.
So I read it was the halfway point. I did not realize that they meant the halfway point in total XP needed.
Yeah.
I thought they were referencing halfway point in time.
Right. So that's, some people have been saying that, but I'm pretty sure the actual information, if you dig it up online, is actually in XP points, not in XP time.
Yeah, well, that's a stupid.
I don't disagree, but it also gets misquoted a lot, so maybe I'm not finding the original data. That said, however, I hear the actual wall that you hit is at 92. The last 8 levels are hellish.
In terms of length to get there?
Mm-hmm.
So they also just released the update.
It's also
yesterday, right?
where the mob strength caps out. Like, you basically stop getting stronger at 92, but the mobs keep getting stronger is kind of like what the way it was described to me. I don't know if that's correct. That's just the way it was described to me.
Yeah.
They said basically from 92 to 100 is supposed to be like the least, the most difficult, I guess. Like levels in general, like they take longer and they're more difficult. But we'll see.
Sure, I can't.
But yeah, I
imagine
saw that
but we'll see.
They claim they noticeably increase the amount of XP you get off of Nightmare Dungeons. Like,
I think it's about double, to be
noticeable.
honest, based on what I was doing before and what I did a little bit today.
Yeah, it's definitely moving at a faster pace. If it was this the whole time, I would have felt better, probably. But I mean, I'm not directly against the amount of XP. I think as a solo playthrough game, it feels about right. But as a game that they expect you to play through every season, it's way too hard.
Nightmare Dungeons. How do you find those?
I can show you if you're willing to log into the game, but talking you through it. Basically, the same dungeons exist on the map. You use sigils in your consumable inventory that upgrade those dungeons to a nightmare level, and then you can go in and fight them, and you get XP, different stuff. We can go through it later, but
you have to. Okay. Tree of Whispers is where you get your first sigils from,
right? Yeah, we can talk about it after the cast.
Yeah, okay.
Sure,
it's fine. Yeah. I got to get up in the morning and all that. I just didn't know it was a whole deal.
Anyway, yeah. So that's going to wrap it for us today. Hopefully you had a good time. This has been Brandon.
And Parker.
And Jeremy.
And Aaron.
And you've just listened to Shame.
So what are we going to call this thing?
I got it. Okay. Incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just going to put down infamous.
And we're back. We did it.
Hell yeah, we're back.
I think that was the best episode we've had all week.
All week.
All week.
It is difficult to have like a half hard, like semi chub for hours.
Mm-hmm.
But I did it.
I was gonna say it, but you did it.
I did it. Like, it was just semi soft, semi hard. I
fact,
do what I can. I do what I can.
Do you know why you're supposed to call or seek medical attention if you have an erection lasting more than 4 hours?
Actually, I don't.
It has nothing to do with the medication, which is what a lot of people assume, is that, the medication is fucking up. Like, it's actually because the blood in your penis does not circulate, which is why it stays erect. And so if it stays in that state, the passive state where it's not circulating, it will actually start to go necrotic after 4 hours. And it will actually damage the flesh of your penis, and you'll have to have it, amputated. Which is why they tell you to go to the hospital.
I'm sure when I was 14, I had some necrotic shit going on.
Yeah.
I could have hammered nails with that thing.
Oh.
Slammed in a car door. Broke out windows. Oh, God.
Like one of those ceramic hammers. Just ping.
Oh, there's only 3 things on Earth that were harder. I can only name one.
And one of them was like a diamond.
Yep.
Not diamonds in general, just one diamond. There's one.
There's a diamond. Oh, my God.
Oh, boy.
After having now started to listen to podcasts, like on the regular, like to other people's podcasts, I actually think this podcast is a strong one. I know we like to toot our own horn, or ironically.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
But I
After
actually
200.
like
Parker, you're not supposed to say that when we're recording.
Why not? I like it. I think this podcast is strong.
Hey, guys.
If you're going to do it, at least have the toxic masculinity. Like, they need to step their game up.
No, I haven't.
Exactly.
I haven't. To be fair, I have never listened to an MCP broadcast. This is the only podcast that I've ever listened to about MCP. I was supposed to
so you just mean like just general like news podcasts?
Yeah. Like general. Like, these are people that are already famous, and let's hear about their like lives other than them being famous.
Okay.
I've mostly listened to celebrity podcasts. I've never listened to another MCP podcast. I'm not comparing us to them.
You listen to like Justin Bieber today, or like something like
I've
that?
listened to the Always Sunny podcast a lot now. I've actually listened to all
Vagina
of this.
monologues.
And the one Smartless, you've ever heard of Smartless? It's Jason Bateman and it makes me so mad that I can't think of the name of every man, and that makes me so upset. Will Arnett and Sean Hayes, those three guys do a podcast.
I have listened to that one.
Uh-huh.
That's a good one.
And so, yeah, I've listened to a few episodes of that one, and after listening to them, I was just like, yeah, this is I feel like we're at least par. We're at least par.
Mhm.
Sometimes better. That's my opinion.
I think you should start naming off other MCP podcasts, and then immediately Aaron can put them on a scale of 0 to negative
Trash
10.
scale.
Yes. That would
I'm not
be
going
my,
to do that.
Yeah, if
It,
you
does,
could do
it doesn't
that.
go positive. It's 0 to negative 10.
Yeah. No. Let's
Okay.
just really dumpster everybody. Just fucking
Also, don't explain which end is good.
exactly.
Just swing away.
It could be
Whatever.
it could be like
Fuck 'em.
golf. Who knows?
That's
Yeah,
why.
The
fuck
best
it.
part
I'm
is
down. Let's go.
Inconsistently change the direction of the poll.
Yeah.
Oh my god. So, my favorite thing that has happened, and it's awful, and it shouldn't be a favorite thing, but this is the way this country works, is the fact that submarine and all, Jesus Christ, the memes and the amazing shit that's came out of it.
Mhm.
I saw one today that was, it was a meme, and it was the balloons of Up, right? Except it was called Down. The balloon. Oh my god, dude! It was so good.
I saw. I think my favorite one I've seen is it was a video with sound, but it was a Curb Your Own Enthusiasm spoof where it's like two guys talking. And it's like, I don't think it's like, what happened to the Titanic? Well, it sank because the guy didn't really know what he was doing. It's like, I don't think that could happen again. And it goes blah, da-da, 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 like that. Just like, I was like, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Good cold. It was a cold open spoof. I was like, that's pretty good.
I mean, I don't know a
So-
ton about it aside from a bunch of rich people like sewed themselves into this thing, and we're like,
sewed themselves into a couch. and
yeah,
threw it
they're
in
like,
the ocean.
there's no way this could go bad. We're rich, and God
Sewed
loves us.
themselves into a couch.
Not quite that bad.
It
but
was
okay.
not that bad. The internet found out that I cared about this for 15 minutes, and so it's been sending me so much information about it. I actually know a lot.
let me tell you, because this is all anyone can fucking talk about at the game store,
Yeah,
and
I'm
I
sure.
couldn't care less, and I
Uh-huh.
keep getting stuff
Oh.
in my feed. It's like, Zuckerberg, stop it! I don't
Yeah.
care.
Mark
So here's my,
Zuckerberg.
I guess, 2 cents is like 5 people died doing something quasi risky. Why the
Mhm.
fuck is this newsworthy?
I know, right?
Like, how many people die in the country every day? Huge accident, pile up. 14 people died. It makes the local news for the evening, and then it's done. Instead, we have to talk about this for weeks. I don't get it.
no, it's very dumb. It's just
Yeah.
because there's memes, and it keeps people thinking
Right.
about it.
Well, it's the sensationalism. I
Yeah.
understand why. I
I don't
wish
understand
society
why
would be
they-
different.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
don't understand why they care.
It's very like Always Sunny to do something like that, though. Like strap us in, we're going.
Yeah. So part of it is like how fantastical like the situations were. Like they look into the details of the submarine and they're like, "What? They built this thing out of what?" And you're just like, "Well, yeah, it's a submarine. Like it's not going to be made out of fucking used car parts. Like what? Like sure, they could have gone and gotten probably better stuff, but like it doesn't matter."
Yeah, I think
Like the Schlitterbahn stuff was way more disturbing than like anything that was related to the sub.
the Schlitterbahn stuff is like my immediately the
It's,
first thing
like,
I thought
terrifying.
of.
Yeah. I'm just like, how many of these places are just completely unregulated and just horrifically unsafe, and you just had no idea?
I think the internet. I think it really caught fire. The reason, if there's a reason why this one's sensational and other things don't, it was the whole like eat the rich thing that's very popular on the internet, right? Like it's there's something that's intensely different about the Schadenfreude related to somebody who has so much and is so affluent, losing it all, while enjoying their opulence, right? Like
it creates a certain kind of Schadenfreude that I think appeals to a lot of people, and I think it's why it has become so viral and so persistent in the zeitgeist, is because these are very, very rich, affluent people who could afford any amount of protection, any amount of comfortability their entire life, and they chose to spend it on something incredibly risky. So I think that's the reason why it's so provocative.
Well, fuck, I have no Schadenfreude then. What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
Well, Trip 2.
I
mean,
think you have some Schadenfreude.
Hmm.
You do play like wide criminals. I think you have some Schadenfreude. I think you were the man who's like, I bet I could put 6 criminals down on the board and watch my opponent lose that way. I think there's some Schadenfreude there. I think that happens.
Touche.
I was just gonna say the people talking about trips to space. Yeah, that's just as cool.
Mm-hmm.
Spend unlimited amounts of money to get launched into space and all that stuff. That'll probably work out for you. That'll be fine.
I mean, it will until it doesn't.
Yep. Oh, I'm done with baseball, man. It's done. It's officially over. Today was the last game day.
Ooh.
All that. Yeah.
Forever, or like just this season.
This season, kind of forever. They don't have middle school baseball really.
No,
like,
they don't.
There's a weird ass gap. I
Mhm.
don't know fucking why, but there sure is. So now I either have to incorporate competitive league baseball, which is some sort of crazy fucking
Cult.
thing.
Yeah, it's a cult.
Yeah, it's a cult. Or convince the rec league to start some sort of like new level for the kids to play in.
I'm sure if you volunteered to be the coach, they'd be right on that.
Oh yeah, for all the
it's
teams.
the whole fucking team though. Yeah, everyone.
So yeah,
Well,
no man, it was pretty cool.
I imagine your fingers are crossed at this point that there will just be somebody like who's coaching next time, right?
What do you mean?
Like, are you hoping to coach the team again, or you're hoping that there will be an actual coach next time so you don't have to?
No, I would coach every single year if I could.
Okay.
But my boys are out. Like they're too old now,
Mhm.
so there's no league for them.
That's not not the hyper competitive stuff. Yeah.
It's like being a porn star in your 40s, Brandon.
Mm.
I don't know about that.
I'm not seeing the correlation.
Sorry, I was trying to put it in words.
I was working through the analogy. I was like, so what? When they get to like 55, they get to do it again because there's this weird gap.
I'm very lost. Yeah,
they're ready to go. They think they're still in it, but they've aged out.
No, I see. And then eventually they get to like geriatric.
God, if I had to
dong.
explain it to you.
Yeah.
I just wasn't.
I get it. A pregnant stripper.
Yeah.
Yeah. There.
Talk
You go.
to me in things I can understand.
We call it a gap year.
I get it.
Stripper with C-section. I get it.
Cece just got to the same thing with swimming. She's done with the I'm learning to swim, and now the only thing she can do is be on a team and do it either semi-competitively or competitively. And as soon as she heard team, she's like, gross, no. So she just does. She just wanted to learn how to swim and swim all the time with a coach, but she doesn't want to be on a team and stuff like that. She really can't stand the idea. And part of me goes like, maybe you would enjoy it. The other part of me goes, yes, thank sweet Jesus, I don't have to take her to and fro anymore. Let's see how that goes.
So they played a game today too, and it was so crazy because now all my social media is all about baseball and sending me like YouTube clips of like horrible like dad coaches yelling at their kids. Like the one is like, this is my kid.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Super cringeworthy videos.
Yeah. Horrible stuff. The team that we just played today was that. And I was telling the umpire, because the umpire was like, well, it's hot today. We're only playing 45 minutes. So we were done with 2 innings. And he's like, you want to quit? I was like, I go, honestly, I'm done. I'm done listening to this coach yell at these kids and the kids' parents. The kids' parents and him were fighting. I'm like, holy shit, dude. I'm like, this is rec ball, bro. Calm down.
Mm-mm,
so
there's no calm.
No, dude, this guy was nuts. He was nuts. Open your glove. You need to go back. Just yelling at these kids. I'm like, dude, this is so inappropriate. It was cringy, man.
And you've never seen this guy before?
I mean, it's his team. I haven't seen these guys. I don't know them.
Oh, I just assumed
it was teams a lot.
Yeah, I assumed it was like
no.
a league.
We played. We had enough teams this year that we played 8 games, and there was 10 teams. So you don't see the same team twice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have not, in the past, I haven't actually seen this guy either. His son he was trying to make his son be a pitcher who he sucked. And
Mhm.
so his kid sucked. So then when we were winning, he put in his superstar pitcher, struck us out or whatever for the last out. Fine, whatever. Next inning comes up. This kid gets put in, strikes us out. Or the kid gets put in. The kid starts sucking after one batter. Isn't doing good. He switches him out for this other kid who's a superstar. He's got two kids who were on competitive teams that were playing for him, which is horse shit to start with.
Mhm.
The mom starts screaming, "Are you kidding me? You're pulling him out after only one batter?" And he's like, "What are you talking? This is about the team. It's not about your kid." And I'm like, "Holy shit, dude." And she's like, "This is, this is not cool." And everybody in the stands was like, "What are you doing?" Oh my God. It was so crazy.
And you're like, we're getting ice cream, kids.
Oh, and I'm just looking at my team and I'm looking at him and I'm like, because I'm on the first base line, which is right
Mhm.
next to their dugout. Like, I'm not near my people because I'm
Mm.
running first base at that point. And it is so cringy. Like, kids' sports is so cringy and fucked up. It is so crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Which I wish I knew more about sports because I'm not a sports guy. I play baseball enough to know how to teach kids who don't know what the hell they're doing, but I don't know enough to teach competitive anything. So
Yeah.
the next level isn't my deal. But God damn it, I would love to be the buffer for my kids to teach them how to play sports and be respectful to one another.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
because that stuff is shit and toxic.
Yeah, you
'Cause
would
they're-
obviously never want them to be on that guy's team.
No, because those are toxic people, and they're making toxic human beings to go into the
How
world.
long have your kids been playing baseball?
Since T-ball, so since 4, so 7 years.
Since age 4?
Yeah, you can play at 4
Did
years old.
I hear most parents have a hard time recognizing their kids after age 3.
Recognizing their kids after age 3.
Yeah, because they've never seen them before.
I'll smack you in the fucking face.
I'm happy to announce that we have a mailbag today. that was number 1.
Oof. That one fucking hit the bullseye too. Jesus Christ. You'll never
It
get
took
me
me
that
so
good
long
again.
to convince you guys to talk about baseball and then go into the age of kids.
You
That was
finally
good.
did it.
You did
Mhm.
it. I did not see it coming.
I'll never get got like that again.
Yep.
There's
It'd
always
be
your
a shame
first
if
time.
we didn't have anything to show for it.
Hmm.
That's a deep cut for listeners.
Do we still have our listeners from Guernsey?
Guernsey.
Guernsey.
That's our only
I would hate to
listeners
have
still.
lost them.
That's the only. They're the
I
only
hope
ones
we
left.
I mean, maybe hopefully they didn't just take off and play Star Wars.
When all other listeners fall away, Guernsey will still be here.
I think I said this, but
I believe in
recently we have broken 20,000 listens on our platform. So
Nice.
that's cool.
I make my kids listen. It adds it up.
Good. That's good. I mean, do they just listen on your phone?
I bought them 6 phones. They have to listen 3
Oh,
times
good.
a day.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
it helps. I'm like, kids, smash the like button. You know what to do.
Yeah. I mean, that's about the only thing they do know to be honest.
That's what they're trained. Like good little kids. Did you?
The U.S. is 73%.
Oh, good. We're winning.
Ooh, Guernsey, head of several countries now. Many countries, actually.
Ooh.
They're beating Puerto Rico, Israel, Romania, Indonesia, South Africa, Pakistan, Mexico, Colombia, South Korea, Singapore, Turkey, Switzerland, Slovenia, and then finally Guernsey.
I can't believe how international we are now.
I know, dude. I'm actually stunned. Like, how many countries listen to us? I'm just like, what are you guys doing? Like, is that boring in Australia? Like, what's going on? I mean, I get Australia because they don't want to go outside because they'll die. But, like, I
They
get,
will be
like, other
eaten.
countries, though.
Yeah.
Ooh, check this out. What do you think the 8th most popular country that we have listeners in is?
What a weird metric.
Shut up. It's definitely not data sculpting, don't worry.
The 8th.
8th.
Ireland.
Oh god, this was so easy. Aaron, tell him what it is.
That I don't know.
Oh god damn it.
Germany.
Jeremy. It's super obvious.
Is it Canada?
No, that's number 3.
Oh,
Wait, is it Denmark?
Yes!
Yeah.
Denmark!
There we go.
So that means Parker's won the prize. The secret reveal prize was, for every one of our listeners that meets us in Denmark at the WTC, if you introduce yourself to Parker, he will buy you 1 beer.
Okay.
I can't wait, this is going to be amazing.
we'll also give you a Chinese knockoff T-shirt.
1 Chinese knockoff t-shirt.
We have a whole bunch of them.
Oh boy. Yep. I'm pretty excited for Denmark. I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah, the travel is going to be a little intense, but yes, it will be fun.
You think so?
Why are we fucking traveling in tents?
Yeah. I plan on traveling in cars and planes.
I don't know why I immediately like that joke so much.
I don't even think it's.
That's fantastic.
Jeremy's just over here in a fresh hell every day. Like, why do I do this?
Nope. Yeah. Brandon, did you watch the newest season of Yellowstone?
I think so, unless there's been a very recent one.
I think
Say it was earlier this year, right?
Yes, it was like 3
Yeah,
or
I
4
watched
months
that.
ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just got put on Peacock a month
Oh, yeah?
ago or something. Yeah, I'm almost done with it. Good. It's good.
Yeah, I like Yellowstone. It's fun.
It's not done yet, is it? They're going to do more?
I don't think so. No, I mean, they've already have 2 spin-off shows from it. Like, they're
Yeah.
going to milk it, I can tell.
2 spinoffs from what?
Do what?
2 spinoffs from what?
Yellowstone.
Oh, yeah.
I watched the one with Harrison Ford. I think it's called 1923. It's pretty fun. It's a little bit campier than the regular Yellowstone, but it's good.
Oh, really?
Mhm. I really like the what appears to be the main character, which is the eldest son.
Yeah, I haven't caught any of those yet.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
What is the term that they use for those like early British colonial explorers? Like, do they have like a title? Like the Van Belt or whatever his name is from Jumanji and those guys?
Oh.
Where it's like
not
they're
sure.
they're gonna conquer the Dark Continent or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, do they have like are they referred to as anything or just dickheads?
Yeah, I
Like,
was gonna say assholes.
yeah, they're generally not good people, but like
Yeah.
it's definitely a type. Like, it's a character trope.
Yeah.
Like there was one in Penny Dreadful. There was one in Jumanji. There's one in 1923.
Yeah.
It's a returning character. They're like
There's-
hunter
yeah,
/ adventure
yeah,
/ explorer.
Yeah. Explorer entrepreneurs kind of guys. Yeah. The Key and Peele did a really funny skit about them as well, because they talk about every place they go, the local tribes don't know anything about like sexual conduct, and so they have sex with everybody. They saw me with my take out a matchstick and they mistook me for a god, and of course everyone in the woman wanted to have sex with me. Yeah.
I had to oblige.
I had to. You couldn't forget the
It's
thing
their custom.
Yeah, local customs. You can't deny the local customs. No, you can't deny local customs.
So are
Pretty
you a
good.
Prima Nocte supporter? Is that what you're saying here?
No, not at all. You're constrained.
Okay.
And Prima Nocte was very not a native thing. That was a European, Western European thing. But it is the but yeah, I wish I knew the name of those guys. I guess just colonial. Like they weren't really colonialists though. They were more like explorers.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I always called like the adventure type.
Yeah. But a lot of them also were colonialists. Like they planted flags in places and said, "This is now Britain." And like, but we live here.
Yeah.
Like, yes. But do you have a flag? That's the Eddie Izzard joke. Do you have a flag?
Because I can't remember. It's been so long. Is Indiana Jones? He's American, right?
Very.
So is he basically just the American version of that character?
No, because he's supposed to be. He lives in World War II, which was actually like World War II was
Right, but like that's like points like he's like the old classic adventure type, but like in a modern sense.
I guess he was pre World War II, so most of his adventures happened in like 1930s.
Mm-hmm.
No, a lot of colonialism had already cemented by then. There were still adventures in the 1930s, but they were to the most difficult to reach places. So like deep in jungles, North Pole, South Pole, Everest, like that stuff was still going on. But they had already mapped the world and cut it up, colonially by then. In fact, the end, the 1940s and late 1940s and 50s is when they disassembled a lot of that stuff post World War II.
All right.
They attempted to anyway. It didn't go so well.
Give it back.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into it. You guys ready?
Aha.
All right.
Fuck Thanos.
Shame?
Shamba?
Shamba. Not going to work here anymore. Cool. Jeremy, you still a big fan of dogs?
I hate dogs.
But, do you like them in, what quantity? Like, packs? Like a pack of dogs?
I'm not doing this.
You don't like dogs?
Dags?
Dags. So I have a question for you, though. If the leader of a dog pack is the alpha, does that make the rest of the dogs subwoofers?
No!
No?
God, I hate you.
Why?
Get better material.
That was also a mailbag. That was from Nigel.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Nigel.
So
Jesus.
He's definitely at war with you.
Thanks. Yeah, great. Great. I'm glad I inspired people to just do this.
Mm-hmm. Don't worry. We've got weeks of material. I could probably do 3 a week for the next 2 months.
Oh.
We'll be good.
Lordy.
Yeah, they're just pouring in. Yeah, I encourage
sure.
people to continue
sure.
submitting them. Yeah. Should we call it there? Do we need to give them another one?
Please don't give me another one.
I
we
have
save
this whole
them?
list right here.
I don't want us to get through. I don't want us to get through them all. Let's save some.
Let's save them for now. Okay, we'll save some.
We need to save some.
All right. I'm just so excited because, God, this next one's going to kill somebody. This one's razor sharp.
So, I go through phases with my YouTube Reels or Facebook Reels, wherever they choose to show me on little videos, which I never got into my entire fucking life, right? But apparently I'm retired now. I can sit around the house and just watch Facebook shit. It used to be trimming cows' hooves. And then it went into people taking care of alligators. Now I'm on to British comedy. Holy shit. Some of those people are funny as fuck.
The British comedy shows where it's like a talk show / game show.
So the one that you might be referring to is called 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown.
That's a popular one.
Yeah. Oh my God.
There's a few. My favorite small clip show ones are what's it called? Lie to Me? It's basically it's 2 teams of 3 and there's a host, and one team, a random person, they'll just go in turns, right? So one of the people on a team will read a story or make a statement, and then it goes to the other team, and as a group they get to ask him questions, and then they have to decide if it's a fictitious statement or if it's a fact, like a true fact about that person.
Yep.
And that's really fun because the statements are I once slept in a bush naked. And you're just and then they start asking well, why did you sleep in a bush naked? And they just go through this question and answer thing for 2 minutes. It's all right, you have to tell me right now, is it a truth or a lie? And then they have to it's a game, and the team that gets the most correct wins. And it's just because it's all celebrities, it's hilarious. Because a lot of them can't fucking keep a straight face to save their lives sometimes.
The one where they have send to all, where they take a celebrity, they grab their phone,
yeah,
and
kind of like that.
They create a text.
Yeah, and the fun part
and
is
they hit send to all, and they read the replies live.
Oh God!
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Those-
There's some funny
those are
fucking
also
texts
fun.
they send out too.
Mhm.
I just, normally I get myself a facelift every Christmas, but I think the one I've got now is good for another year or 2. But my
do you
plastic
think?
surgeon gave me a voucher. Would you like it? ?
Oh God!
And see what replies you get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of them is I'm doing an art class right now. I'm having private art lessons, and my current homework is life drawings. And so, can you come over and pose nude for me?
Yep.
And be, like reading those replies.
Oh my god!
But they're all from celebrities. So it's like, oh, this is David Beckham's wife replying to this text, and he's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah. That's
Those are fun.
hilarious
God.
shit.
I did not see a comedian one today, but I saw one that I never thought I would see. But it's one of those things that as a kid, you see it and you go, is it possible? Is somebody took a tow truck on the side of a interstate, and you know how they usually put up those big signs like, don't come here or something like that, but I guess they forgot because the tow truck, the ramp went down and somebody just careens over it at like 55 and it flies over the cab, destroys the top of the cab. The car lands like on its side, like 30 feet away. Insane wreck. And I was it's not funny, but as soon as I saw it, I was like,
quite funny.
yeah, but as soon as I saw it, I was like, holy shit. Because it's one of those things you see them on the side of the road, you see the thing down there, you're like, huh. Like as a kid, you see that and you go, I wonder what happened if I took my bike off that. Only somebody just did it.
Nope.
Not paying attention.
Don't do it.
It's no bueno.
So at my last job, the HVAC place, we would get like big snow days, right? But we had to be open because we were like an emergency services business. So we'd sit there, but it's a foot of snow on the ground, so nobody's working. And so the only people we get are the people that are there. It's like fixed grocery store equipment that broke. Like that's the only people coming in. So we get like 3 customers all day. Like it's fucking dead. So we get all of our work done around like noon, and we're just sitting around at the front counter, and we're like pulling up YouTube and stuff, like because we're bored. I'm like, all right, guys, watch this. I'm going to finish the day out for you guys, and I'll pull up like YouTube Russian driving videos.
Oh gosh, yeah, those Russian,
because
those
they
Russian
have like
cams.
a no fault like rule, like unless you have evidence of who caused the accident, there's no penalization for causing an accident.
Mm-hmm.
And so everyone in Russia has dash cams, but they also have like no standardized driving like laws. It's so easy to get like a license in Russia. It's astounding. And so there's these like all this crazy shit, like people doing 120 around like a blind corner, just all this terrible shit. One of the videos, like literally a tank just drives across the highway and he's driving at 70 miles an hour. He slams on the brakes, like, why is he stopping? There's nobody in front of him. It's just tank crosses the road. You're like, what the fuck? It's just
oh my god,
lawless land. It's insane. Like, and there's hours and hours of footage on like one video that a guy has compiled. Like, it's crazy.
I have been driven around quite a bit in Russia. I can confirm.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Would never get behind the wheel of a car in that country.
No, yeah, it's
Wow.
absolute like fucking lawless land. And so there's people's like, why would I stop at the red light? Just fucking barreling through it at 70 miles an hour. You're like, okay, like I guess you just want to die.
So what is it? Just because it's not enforced? There's nobody.
Yeah, like
enforces
they just don't care to enforce like reckless driving. Like they just don't give a shit, and so they just like, unless you have evidence, like we're not going to do anything. And so a bunch of people that are responsible get dash cams, and then it's like, and then like they can actually catch those people, but like until then they just don't care.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking crazy.
And the amount of traffic in and around Moscow is fucking insane.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
you should pull it up sometime. It's truly mind.
I've seen some of them, absolutely, but I had no idea. I thought it was just like, here are some.
Yeah,
here's some accidents. Like, here's some near things, and these things happen on the road all the time. But we don't have private citizens owning the footage to put it up online. But no, you're saying this is.
And there's a ton of like there's
issue.
Like the newly industrialized areas that have like all these old hand-me-down, broken down semi trucks that they just put zero money into and put back on the road. It's like tires are coming off, like all kinds of crazy, like axles break, drive shafts break just on the road. The truck just flips. Like people are sitting parked at an intersection, just like 18-wheeler comes slamming across their lanes. You're like, what is this? Is crazy. Absolute insanity. And so I'm just cackling. It's like I don't know, probably 100 people die in the video. Like I it's super dark, but like I'm here for that. Anyway, we should probably get out of here, right?
Yes,
it's a good note to end on.
Mm-hmm.
I so want to use these next 2 jokes, but I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna be a good boy. All right. Well, thanks for coming, everybody. Hopefully you had a good time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.